the world knows already that women are also capable of high achievement. That we do so with that reservoir of strength, determination, and mental acuity that only those who are noble and far-sighted like you can comprehend and contend with. I will share in our collective successes and share responsibility for our setbacks, if any. And at the time of reckoning, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I will not, in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I go on to other important matters, please let me state my understanding of where we are as a country, as a nation, and the implications of what lay ahead. The election ahead is not so much about Ghana making history, although that is important. It is not so much about returning a competent president back to power. It is not even about producing the first woman vice president, historical and exciting though these are. It is not only about bringing the NDC back to power, although it is indispensable in our current circumstances. The elections ahead and winning them is about winning elections for a purpose. The purpose goes beyond those enumerated above. The purpose is the opportunity to heal our country again. It is about the opportunity to pull Ghana back from the precipice of destruction, of normalizing corruption, of incomprehensive greed, from deep despair.
Well, so that's Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. She has a lot going for her. It's a conversation we're going to be having this morning, being the first running mate to be reselected for subsequent elections whilst the NDC is in opposition. This is the first time it's happening. It's never happened in the NDC's history. Whilst in opposition, sort of tend to change running mates every now and then. This has not happened in the case of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Aside from that, she, as you do know, was the first female vice-chancellor of a state university. And if NDC wins this 2024 elections, will be the first female vice president of the Republic of Ghana. Yeah, but between now and election 2024, December 7, there's a lot that's going to be happening. Now, there are many who have described her speech as the new Nana Jane. How much of her newness is going to work for the NDC going forward into the campaign proper? Good morning, welcome. This is The Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on 3FM 92.7 and also on X. That's TV3 Ghana on X. These are all the platforms you can be interacting with us and share your thoughts with us. We'll read it out to the rest of the world. This week as well, the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, popularly, commonly referred to as SML, as described as untrue the KPMG report suggesting that it was paid some over 1 billion cedis by the state over a 5-year period for supposedly enhancing revenue assurance in the downstream and upstream petroleum value chain. Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is demanding the publication of the KPMG audit report on SML and the Ghana Revenue Authority contract. This is the statement that the ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament, Isaac Adongo, issued, questioning why President Akufo-Addo is keeping the KPMG report to his chest. He's not alone in this, because some civil society organizations have also made that same demand. Bright Simmons, the vice president of the Imani Africa, a policy think tank, is also going to be joining us on this matter. We would have a conversation this morning here on the key point. Aside from that, the senior advisor to the president, Yawo Safo-Mafo, has joined in the calls by many people for the asset declaration regime in this country to be looked at again, because in his view and the view of many others, this is incompetent and impotent when it comes to fighting corruption in the public sector. He expressed his dissatisfaction with the existing asset declaration framework, emphasizing that the confidentiality maintained between the Auditor General and individuals obstruct scrutiny and accountability. To the extent that, see, when you go and declare your assets, even the Auditor General cannot open it. The recipient authority cannot open it to authenticate whether what you have declared is true or otherwise. What kind of asset declaration law is this? And what can the Conduct of Public Officers Bill do to correct this deficiency in the asset declaration law? That's a conversation that we'll have this morning. Plus, we shall also look at the Supreme Court's declaration that it is unconstitutional for the wives of the president and the vice president, which we've been calling First Lady and Second Lady, to receive salaries because they are not Article 71 office holders. Yeah. This is a matter that it has been running for quite a while now. So then, what happens next after this point? Because we are still expending the taxpayers' money on the office, as we call them, the office of the First Lady, office of the Second Lady. Nelson Roxanne Dafiamekpo and Abronya, they took this matter to the Supreme Court for interpretation and then also a ruling on this matter. But what happens next is a conversation that we're going to be having this morning. So stay with us. Does the Presidential Transition Act take care of retiring First Ladies and Second Ladies? Let's hear from you, as always. We're very, very interactive here on Key Point on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7. Here on the Key Points, we take the key issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people, less of the jargons, and we speak your language because we understand exactly what we are all going through. My guest will be joining me in a bit. We'll have a conversation right after this quick break. Stay with us. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome.
Cash left for the month, you decide to get a chicken bucket for the family. So you hop in your car and pay for the petrol to get to the drive-thru. Then you pay for the food. But 20 minutes later, that precious bucket of chicken is now a bucket of bones. Or you pay once right on your phone with the MyGoTV app to keep the whole family smiling for an entire month. For unbeatable value for money entertainment,
ooh, I love this.
There's only one way to go. GoTV. Love it.
Hello, my name is Yao Ademensa. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. On the 27th of April this year, the Transfusion Medicine Unit of Konfanochi Teaching Hospital is partnering Akuma FM for a blood donation campaign, which is going to take place at the forecourt of Akuma FM.
My name is Dr. Kujusa Abin, the Medical Director for Confanochi Teaching Hospital. On the 27th of this month, which is April, there will be a blood donation exercise at Akuma FM premises. I'm encouraging everybody to donate.
My name is Mr. Christian Opomensa. I'm the head of donor recruitment, Confanochi Teaching Hospital. Confanochi Teaching Hospital is faced with the challenge of meeting the blood needs of its patients. Join Akuma FM on Saturday, 27th April to donate a pint of blood. Thank you.
This Sunday on Hot Issues.
Do you think that Jane will bring in the numbers you need to win?
There are 16.8 million women in Ghana. We need a seat at the top table now.
Your dream of capturing the Ashanti region has already fallen through.
This time, I believe that their eye is on the ball this time, and the campaigning has been made much easier. The MPP has proved themselves to be quite helpful.
Hot Issues shows Sundays at 10 p.m. only on TV3.
TV3, first in news. They are coming from all over the country and even beyond. They are coming to take their place at the table of champions. It's not just a race, it is a movement. 3FM presents Tour du Ghana 2024, the ultimate cycling event, a tour of sheer endurance, grit, power, and perseverance. So seasoned riders, professionals, and leisure riders, mark your calendars for May 18, 2024. 3FM Tour du Ghana is back with a thrill. This year, start point is at the Media General Premises Kanda to the Scenic and Price Town in the Eastern region. Register at a fee of 150 Ghana cedis for single riders and 100 Ghana cedis for each rider in a group of 10. Cyclists stand the chance of winning prizes worth 100,000 Ghana cedis. Your registration comes with personal accident cover, feeding and transportation. For more details, contact 0532 200927 or 0531 100927. 3FM Tour du Ghana. Technical partners Ghana Cycling Federation. Proudly sponsored by Malta Guinness, DHL, Blue Medical.
Only if we the citizens will rise up on our feet and shout peace.
The Talented Kids Day serves as a platform for children to display their talent while also imparting valuable lessons to society.
Me too for to set on my papa. Too fun as if I'm ever boy. You and me, just you and me. Let's hold up vibe and have some peace.
This week, contestants will deliver election-themed performances promoting peaceful elections, unity, tolerance, and civic responsibility.
Me yeah I can, or yeah slim me. Me yeah party A, or yeah party B. Alpha Shemba.
It's eviction week, so don't forget to vote and secure a spot for your favorites in the finale on May 18th at the National Theatre. Dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. Talented Kids, free to play.
Yeah. Talented Kids shows on TV3 Sunday at 4 p.m.
Powered by Indomie. Sponsored by Coco Plus,
Deluxy Acrylic Paint,
Frutelli Calipo,
Vitamilk,
Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, CTIW Foundation,
and supported by.
Hi guys, this is your screen goddess Mona Gochi, and guess what? This Saturday I am with the biggest ladies' car show in Ghana, the Ladies Circle.
Economic problems in any country can drive a myriad of problems, especially problems that have to do with exploitation of the youth, especially the girl child.
Why are we all just going about the whole issue? Oh, she's being exploited. There's pressure.
Listen, nobody's coercing you to go into such situations. We made an offer.
Yeah.
You decided to accept it and then take it.
Yeah.
But it is also true when Helen keeps saying, are you sure there's no manipulation? Is something happening?
Yes.
Love and a son.
Lord have mercy. She naked, God.
Helen, you good?
I am.
I'm smelling cheating.
Woo!
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I have good students in the class.
Have you ever had mercy on a troll because you thought he was kind of cute?
Nothing about the troll is attractive.
At all.
Yeah.
The Ladies Circle shows this Saturday at 6 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Yaz Sanitary Pad, MTN.
Held that Parliament approved recommendations of the Prof. Ntiamwa Bedu-led Committee on Emoluments regarding the First and Second Ladies was inconsistent with provisions in the Constitution since they can't be classified as Article 71 office holders. Kwame Bafo, among other reliefs, was seeking a declaration that per Article 71, 1 and 2, the positions of the First and Second Ladies of Ghana do not fall under the category of public office holders. A declaration that, per Article 71, the Emoluments Committee is limited to recommending the salaries and other benefits and privileges of only public office holders. The fourth relief by Abronye, which was praying the court to declare that Parliament cannot on its own accord initiate or approve payment of any such emoluments, which would necessarily be paid from public funds without a bill to that effect emanating from and introduced by the government and duly passed into law, was however dismissed by the Apex Court. Lawyer for Kwame Bafo spoke to the media.
I'm happy, not just because I was the counsel who came before the Honorable Court, but also the fact that I'm a citizen of the Republic and the rule of law has been upheld in this instance case again. That is also giving us the assurance that the Constitution is still in force and it's been upheld by the judiciary, and I'm very, very happy, very much about that.
The Bono NPP chairman, Kwame Bafo, expressed satisfaction with the court's judgment.
I was surprised to hear that Parliament has adopted the recommendation that first and second ladies should be added to the position as if they are the deputy ministers. That is why I filed the suit, and hopefully the Supreme Court has said that Parliament exceeded their jurisdiction. They don't have that mandate to add unless that particular provision, which is an entrenched provision, be amended. And it's something that we have to amend it through referendum, and Parliament cannot do that.
Despite filing similar reliefs, NDC Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafemekpos, all but one relief was dismissed. Chief Justice Tokonu explained that his reliefs focused on the recommendations of the Professor Ya Ntiamwa Bedu Committee, while that of Abronye's focused on Parliament's action. With this unanimous decision by the Supreme Court, it means that henceforth, unless you are an Article 71 public office holder, you are not entitled to any salaries, benefits, or emoluments.
Well, so welcome back to the key point here on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. Remember, you can also join us on X, at 3FM 927, also on TV3 Ghana, also on X. So we're very, very interactive this morning here on the key point. Please do well to share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us. Joining us for this conversation this morning is Member of Parliament for the Asante-Achim North constituency. He is the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, and also a member of a number of committees in this same August House, the House of Representatives. He is a private legal practitioner as well, the Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi. Good morning to you, Honorable. Thank you very much for joining us. All is well?
Very well, thank you.
Okay.
It could have been better though, but the circumstances, we praise God.
Yeah. We sing the same song as well. Did you sleep in darkness at any point in the Dumso?
Oh, at least last night there was light throughout the day, and I'm told and reliably informed that the problem is being resolved, and that going forward in the weeks ahead we will not experience it again.
Who told you that?
It's very refreshing. I've been in touch with the ministry.
I see.
And I'm reliably informed that the solutions are on the way.
So in the coming weeks?
So in the coming weeks.
Did he give you a timeline?
Well, not really, but I'm very much assured that in the coming weeks it will go away.
I thought Herbert Crabber said.
Unfortunately, I'm not Herbert Crabber.
Crapper.
Unfortunately, I'm not him. I'm telling you what I have. The information that I have is what I'm sharing with you.
I see. Because earlier the timeline was that we will not get into April.
I didn't say that.
Kojopoku said it.
I am Andy Apiakubi. And this is the information that I have that I'm sharing with you.
Indeed.
So I can say for me, I say the whole of my side of Adabraka was doing so the whole day.
The whole day.
So I worked from my car.
Nobody enjoys
the whole
this
day. Adabraka,
energy interruptions. Nobody enjoys it, but we are only
around the Trust Towers, the Catholic Cathedral, down. Yeah, the whole day. So eventually I left about 4 something. Just
couldn't work.
Martin, all of us are praying that we have
solutions. You charge the laptop with the car, you put on the engine and then connect.
Yes.
So
Martin,
you charge a few hours, then you go upstairs, wait, heat,
I'm
then
sure,
come down.
I'm sure all of us are praying that this problem will be resolved. And the earlier it is
resolved. But who isn't praying? Except Napo, who says we are evil.
He's not here to defend.
But he says so, but he's there. Has he since apologized? He's the only one who says if we talk about doomsday timetable, then we are evil. After we've made him who he is today.
No, I haven't heard him say that.
He is a private legal practitioner. He is one of the leaders of one of the 3 individual bond. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yes, so also the convener for the Kumiprekulo demonstration. Now, Martin Pebo, you've
Martin, you are any new title.
You've introduced yourself.
Also any new title.
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome.
The passport, yes. We'll talk about the passport today.
We didn't come here for passport.
Yes.
It's okay.
The young people want to go to the US. Then you are stopping.
Who wants to go to the US?
The young people, unemployed graduates.
We are not stopping them.
Nelson Roxon, Eche Dafiamepo, who is Member of Parliament for the South Dye constituency, also a private legal practitioner. And he is one of the plaintiffs in this case that we're going to talk about right now. Member Nelson Roxon Dafiamepo, good morning, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here once more.
Congratulations, it's in order.
I have encountered you for the past 3 weeks or so. You've been missing.
Professor Ransford Jampo is a professor of political science and a governance expert at the University of Ghana, joining us as well. Professor Ransford Jampo, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. You've been sojourning around the world.
Yes, I mean, sometimes you have to switch off from Ghana and go and take some vacation or rest elsewhere, so that you would be able to have some peace of mind off the kuka in your own country. And see, when you visit other people's country and you see the level of development, you begin to wonder whether we have the same human beings who have powered development elsewhere, whether we have them here. Where we went, I mean, it's unfair. I didn't want to, I don't want to compare UK to Ghana. You don't have to compare. But sometimes you can't help it. Everywhere I went to...
why shouldn't we compare? Best practices.
No, well, I mean,
they are also comparing.
I don't want to compare. I mean, I've not been to... My friend keeps quiet and let me say what I want to say.
It's okay.
I had not been to Saudi Arabia before,
right?
So I was overwhelmed. As for UK, I've been like I mean, I've been going there, but sometimes you begin to wonder whether the human beings who have done the kinds of things they have done there are the same human beings that we have here.
With the same blood running through.
Everywhere you went, you are going with a train that goes underground. so many feet, underground. And I was there, I heard that our only one train has been involved in an accident, just one. And I said, and I heard the blame game. There's somebody saying some NDC people have gone to park some vehicle there, and I said, look at us, look at us, just our one train. Okay, I think that leadership since independence have failed the good people of Ghana.
Leadership since independence?
Yes. Since independence, okay, we have failed. Because if you look at the level of development elsewhere and you compare it to what we are seeking to do to ourselves, always trying to tick the box, doing things without our soul in whatever we seek to do for our people. So look, Martin, understand me. I don't want to call. If you, we are worlds apart.
Yes,
we are worlds.
Indeed.
Do we do what?
Do we do it for our people?
Do we do what for our people?
What you are saying.
So obviously we don't. That's what he's saying.
No, what I'm saying.
Do we do it for our people after all?
Well, I think it's a rhetoric question that the good people of Ghana would be able to be the best judge in providing, response. But the point is that
if I want to conclude that, or we purport to do it for ourselves.
Well, you are a politician, so you know the answer to this rhetoric question better than I do. But the point I'm trying to make is that it appears that we are being wicked to ourselves. Okay, we are being wicked to ourselves, and the caliber of people we have elected or selected to power or to lead us towards development, they have failed. And that is why I was telling Martin about this, that this morning, just this morning came to city, that's why I was telling Martin that it's because leadership has failed. That's how come now you have everybody getting up, say, I want to go to parliament. Everybody getting up, say, I want to run as president. You look at the caliber of people who we are a country of human resource, people who have been well educated, who should be able to lead. We are a country that you can say we export human resource to other people's country to go and develop. But when it gets to us as a people, when we are given the mandate to govern our own people, we perform so abysmally. We hate ourselves. We try to involve ourselves in all manner of misgovernance and corruption, such that it creates an impression that, look, I don't know how to put it, but the point is the point is that if you look at the caliber of people who now want to go to parliament, if you look at the caliber of people who want to run as president, as independent candidates and all that, it tells you that we have failed, because they feel that they can also go. Today, I have read somewhere that Ayawaso West Wogon, of all places, Stephen Appiah, the footballer, says he wants to go and he wants to go and contest. But you see, it means that the intellectual community that ideally should have elected an intellectual to go and serve their interest has failed. Okay, and so because of that, this man feels, after playing football, if he can go and construct roads, if he can go and construct hospitals, if he can go and ensure that people have stable supply of power, then he feels that he can do it. And I'm saying I disagreed with Martin earlier, but I think that behind the scenes he said something that makes a lot of sense to me. That if those who are supposed to do it, if those that we trust have been educated, and they claim that they are lawyers, they claim that they are economists, they claim that they are finance people, if they can't do it, then please, let us allow the market women, the traders, the footballers, those that we feel are not educated but are passionate about development, let us begin to identify them and ask them to lead us. Well, so it's a shame. Wait. Let me land on this. Yes. So you see, you are in somebody's country, and
everybody tells you see things going on there, and you feel like, but why don't I also think about relocating? And then the people there tell them, no, as for you, you have to go back. Go back and help the place develop. And my question that I keep asking myself is that all the people who are governing us, they've been here. They know what goes on here. Why are they not bringing about the knowledge, what they have seen, to Ghana? So you say you want to construct a train. Look at this small train that you call, and it is working, it is moving on a bare land or something. People are digging holes underground, and so you see a whole community built, and it has ×2 or ×3 of that community underground. Haven't we seen this before? Haven't we traveled before? When they say travel and see. So please, we are a disservice to ourselves, and it is. I think that it will be better for us, those of us who feel we are educated. It will be better for us to be at the background, and then allow people who have the passion to serve to govern us. If he is a footballer, if he is a comedian, if he is a musician, if he is whatever, and he has a passion to serve, let us give them the nod, because the political elites in Ghana have failed us. And your passion for governance obviously is evident in these few words that you have shared with us upon your travels. The last time you were in Saudi Arabia, when you came back, this ignited another conversation on governance. Something certainly must change. We
somebody just texted that no lights at Kolebu. You leave.
There are no lights at Kolebu.
I didn't have lights yesterday.
You see,
okay.
When you travel and you are London, okay. In time past, I mean, I had to make the conclusion that but after all, Ghana is not as bad as sometimes we paint it, because if the lights are on, I mean, it's a beautiful country. But this time when we're coming, it's like the whole country is a village, like a village. No lights here, vehicle lights, but majority of the place, very, very, very dark.
Well, so while we are talking about,
and we keep giving excuses and explanations as to why we don't have light. We are not
talking about presidents and vice presidents. Nelson Rosin Dafiamekpo, you were at the Supreme Court this week,
yes.
And I want to clear this off the table very quickly. The Supreme Court, in 2 separate judgments, declared as unconstitutional the payment of wages.
Yes.
To the spouses of the president and the vice president. That's the first lady and second lady.
Yes.
The 2 cases which were ruled upon at the Supreme Court this week were filed by yourself and the NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo Abronye. Now, these suits followed this controversy that emerged, if you recall, as a result of recommendations by the Presidential Emoluments Committee for spouses of the President and Vice President to be paid wages and emoluments. That generated a lot of conversation in this country during that period. Well, so Nelson Rosin Dafiamekpo headed to the Supreme Court to test the law on this matter. Guess what? The Supreme Court has ruled in his favor that the payment of wages to First Lady and Second Lady are unconstitutional. But yet, we still have an office of First Lady, Second Lady, and we are expending the taxpayers' money on these offices. Certainly, congratulations is in order for what you did, because aside from that, we should have been now paying if you hadn't tested the law on this matter. So, beyond this, what reason, I see that the courts granted one of your reliefs.
Yes,
and then the others,
yes.
What happened?
Now, what I did was to pray the court to pronounce on the validity or otherwise of the Yaintiamwas and her team exceeding their mandate. Because mind you, this is a constitutional imperative that the president has to constitute this body to look into the emoluments, appropriate emoluments for all Article 71 office holders. Mm-hmm. Now, as part of the TOR that the Yaintia Moehe team had, they exceeded it because the mandate was to deal with emoluments for Article office of 71 office holders. Then they exceeded that by making recommendations attendant upon spouses of the president and the vice president. And this constitution of this body was pursuant to 1, the Constitution, and 2, the Presidential Transitions Act. So, in my humble view, the court had the power to pronounce on it, but they refused to do so. So, it's okay. The material relief was that the payments that were subsequently made to the First Lady and the Second Lady was declared unconstitutional. So that's it.
I see.
Now, if you look at the reasoning of the court, I haven't received it.
Indirectly, there is inference that that constitutional question has been answered.
Yes. Now, that's what I'm saying. I disagree with the court. I disagree with the court because you see, the Yain Tiamoa and her team worked pursuant to law, in pursuance of law. In fact, two key provisions in the Constitution pursuant to the president appointing the body, and 2, the Presidential Transitions Act. Now, if you read the Presidential Transition Act, you see that household as defined includes the spouses of the president and the vice president. So I belong to the school of thought that says that we don't need to have a separate provision for them.
So the Presidential Transitions Act takes care of them?
Yes, and the households.
Their welfare?
Yes, and the households.
I see.
And so there's a budget. Every year, Parliament approves some amount of money for the office of the president to expend. And you know, the vice president's office is also under the office of the president. And so the disaggregation of budget allocations are done by the office of the president, championed by the chief of staff. So she makes provisions for all these key agencies under it. That is why, in my humble view, we ought not to do that. Because otherwise, tomorrow, when bodies are given terms of reference, they can exceed it and do what they ought not to do, first of all, in law. The court said, well, their recommendations were mere recommendations. But I disagree that they are not mere recommendations. Because they expended state resources. It becomes a precedent. So it ought to have been struck down as not part of the terms of reference. First of all, they didn't have that mandate to make recommendations regarding any other person other than Article 70 office holders.
Yeah,
well, let's look at the
Presidential Transition Act that defines household.
Yes.
I even see it as inconsistent with the Constitution that elects persons under Article 71. So
no,
when
this is a large interpretation.
Yes, but when the Constitution has elected to mention persons that qualify under Article 71, what law can go into interpretation to expand that which Constitution has been specifically,
prescribed?
That's another
for the benefit of our viewers,
yes.
respectfully. Let me put the essence of the Professor Yain Tiamoa Bedu's report specifically on this issue of the First Lady and Second Lady, they're retiring and they're serving First Lady and Second. Take a look at this. The administration of President Kufuor introduced the extension of courtesies, including the payment of monthly allowances to spouses of former heads of state, presidents, vice presidents. Now, subsequent administrations have continued the gesture and even extended them to incumbent First and Second Ladies. So here's what all of this happened. It started with the Kufuor administration. It was just some gesture to retiring First Ladies and Second Ladies. But it was extended to serving First Ladies and Second Ladies. This gesture remains purely humanitarian to support and, in some cases, rehabilitate former First Ladies who were evidently struggling to subsist. However, There is no legal basis for this support. Thus, the committee recommends that the support extended to spouses of president, former presidents, vice presidents, former vice presidents, wives, continues, be regularized and included in privileges of presidents, former presidents, vice presidents, former vice presidents. Essentially. So this is where the Professor Yan Tiamwa Bedu's committee specifically talks about what you decided to go and test the law on.
Yes, you see, when this report came to Parliament, you know, there's no formula for Parliament approving things like this. So it was approved by what we call Committee of the Whole. Now, at the Committee of the Whole, the procedure is such that you don't have the structure to delete portions of this report if you objected to portions of the recommendation. What would have happened was that then the House would have decided to return the report to the committee for them to delete those portions and subsequently reconstitute the report, deleting the portions that some members of Parliament had objections to, if the House agreed to, and then return same to the House for approval. The life of that Parliament would have ended. And mind you, this report came at the tail end of the life of the
last Parliament.
7th Parliament. You know, so if you look at how Parliament works, it's only the Supreme Court that has the power to say that no, one, you didn't have the mandate to make these recommendations because you exceeded it. I was hoping that would have been done. So it would have saved Parliament the trouble if somebody had raised the objections. I heard quietly that I'm a member of Parliament and we ought to have known what we were doing. It's not every time that you get a chance. The circumstances are such that it's not every time that you get a chance. That is why you go to the Supreme Court for them to tidy things up. But I'm comforted that going forward, any committee or anybody that's given a mandate will operate within their mandate and not exceed it. Because the recommendation from the Yan Tiamwa's committee, it's not a mere recommendation. You know, they sought to give some basis to it.
I see, but did the court say anything about the monies that have been expended or spent on this, the First Lady and the Second Lady?
I didn't make that prayer, and any pronouncement from the Supreme Court has force of law. It becomes consequential. So any consequential orders are implied. If monies were paid, indeed, let the record reflect that when I issued this writ, it's sometime in February 2021. Almost immediately thereafter, public pressure was brought to bear on government, so the monies were refunded, I'm told.
Yes.
Yes.
And we lauded the First Lady for doing that.
I'm told.
Yeah.
So
let me bring a lawyer, because you see, this case opens up a conversation about the position of the First Lady and Second Lady, because it is not constitutional. In fact, the Constitution doesn't recognize the office of First Lady, office of Second Lady, but yet we are spending the taxpayers' money running that office, right? And what they even have staff attached to them. Counsel.
Yes. Yeah, so that's it. So let's have the conversation properly, and then perhaps, now that we all know that no matter who comes into office in January 2025, as for this constitution, we must amend it, then we can look at what we would do to include them, so that at least there will be some legality. Because as you've said, practically they have their own offices, they have security guards, right? So many cars, etc. Obviously not from their husband's pockets, but from the state coffers. So if we've done this for so long, and we think that, yes, we should continue, and it appears we may have to continue, then let's do it. Let's do it, because you see, they do help their spouses in running the country. I mean, it's a fact, whether we like it or not, because there are certain places, if let's say the president doesn't attend and his wife does, it suffices in a way. I'm not saying everywhere, but there are some quarters. If the First Lady goes, they are happy that, okay, the First Lady is in there because they know that at least she can whisper a thing or two to the husband, right? And there are other places. So, like, let's say, you see the Rebecca Foundation, they did the mother and child maternity unit. They did Kolebu. Then they did, what you call Kumasi. So you see that companies are willing to go and give. Of course, it breeds corruption. Let's be very clear about that. So in doing it, we'll also make rules about where they receive funds. We don't want companies going there because a lot of companies are looking for access to the president. So you easily, and it's so nauseating. It's breeding corruption and corruption and corruption. So in saying we want them to have offices, we'll make specific rules. They will not receive a dime directly from any companies. They will not. Because for me, if we are going to make any proposals for setting up their offices properly and we don't include rules to prevent them from receiving donations from companies, then we might as well not do it, because then it means that we will just be formalizing corruption. And of course, we also put rules about if they misuse the funds, we will prosecute them. Okay. Yes, it should be comprehensive, because it shouldn't just be like, oh, they can be giving some funds to help in championing development, etc., and then we don't hold them accountable.
Some funds will even be sent there under the guise of...
Excellent.
You know.
Excellent. And we've seen that all too often in Ghana. So it's going to be a comprehensive, what do you call it, package. So if we should hear from them, if they think from experience they don't want that kind of public scrutiny and accountability, like some have been shown in recent times to have bought very expensive bags that are, this is what it's several times the income of very high-ranking people living in Ghana. Then you're like, these bags you are using today, when you're in opposition, could you afford those bags? Bags costing $20,000.
Bag among people who do not even care about the bags. They don't even value your bag.
But you know,
you must carry that bag among those who appreciate.
People have appreciated. A blogger did the story and saw that second lady like this, her bags cost several hundred thousands of that, the collection. A blogger did that story. It was so nauseating. I was like, you, in opposition, you're like, Bahama, today you come and your bags alone cost over $100,000.
Essentially, some measures must be put in place.
Yes. If those measures,
that office.
Yes, if those measures don't come, they will not agree for any funds to be sent to them. Okay, yeah.
So you disagree with what the court has said?
No, so what the court is saying is that there's no law to back. And we are saying that if you look at the US like this, they do a bit, okay? And some donations also come from the private sector, right? So if we want to, that's why I say let's have a broader discussion. Let's have it. But my key thing is that if we are going to fund them, then it would also come with so much on accountability. Because if we don't have an accountability package, no, there will be no funding. Otherwise, we will be legitimizing and actually even enhancing the corruption that they're already breeding.
I see. Do you also align with that proposal that this office of First Lady, Second Lady must be maintained, regularized, and also find a place to have it well defined within the Constitution? Because as it stands now, the Constitution does not at any point prescribe any office of First Lady or Second Lady. But we have it by convention, spending the taxpayers' money on it.
I haven't seen any constitution that has addressed the issue of first ladies and second ladies. I haven't seen any.
Anywhere in the world.
And I stand to be corrected. The U.S. Constitution is the simplest of all constitutions. It has not addressed the office of a vice president and the wife of a vice president, the wife of a president. The British Constitution, I haven't seen this.
But do they do as our first ladies are doing?
If you allow me. I've seen other constitutions, even South African Constitution, I've seen the Kenyan, I've read also even the Cameroonian Constitution. I bring in the Cameroonian because of what we all understand. The Central African Constitution, I've seen it. It doesn't. So why is it necessary for Ghana? But in all such constitutional arrangements, we have space for people who want to support private initiatives, and particularly humanitarian initiatives. And believe me, the wives of such country heads are all contributing in their own environment and even outside. And they create human-centered institutions that are devoid of political influence. And for example, in America, the First Lady might create an NGO that will focus in the area of governance and will not depend on public finance. And in Ghana, we have also the rules and laws that control the creation of non-governmental organizations. And indeed, there are guidelines as to areas where you can operate and situations where you can even elicit funding support. So Ghana is not any different from the rest of the world. For us to create a law that says that the wife of Mr. So-and-so is covered by this law, and that indeed, for me, I was so saddened to hear that the Supreme Court didn't rule on the propriety of the extension of mandate of the committee to even consider wives of presidents and vice presidents. No, I didn't think that. I think the Supreme Court should have been emphatic in saying that nowhere in our Constitution has any provision been made to address such offices. So such offices, unknown to the Constitution, are deemed to be private offices. Simple.
Right.
And therefore will not have any means of soliciting for public finance. But again, the Constitution allows for the creation of non-governmental organizations, and there is freedom in directing your focus on any area of the society where you think that intervention is necessary.
Okay.
So, in the same vein, and as happened outside Ghana, first ladies are very important persons, and indeed they can also make their contribution to society. And because of the nature and the positions they hold, they have interaction with different kinds of people. And as Martin was saying, if it becomes a conduit for your access to the presidency, then again we may have compromised.
It is actually, and it's been for
decades. So look, in other jurisdictions, wives of presidents and vice presidents are professionals and doing their. You can see Obama's regime. Obama's wife is a lawyer. Is a Harvard-trained lawyer. Her work in the law and in practice, and never, although they were every now and again attending to public meetings and things like that, it was not from the office of or the coffers of the state.
The state.
You understand? So Ghana is no different for us to attempt to create a law. The laws as we have in Ghana are adequate.
Okay.
If we apply them appropriately, all these issues will be covered. And indeed, in respect of emoluments for presidential spouses, I think we don't need any law to that effect. And indeed, I'm very worried also when the Presidential Transitions Act attempts to introduce a word household and give an interpretation that extends the line of persons identified by the Constitution to include others who are not in the Constitution. When Constitution speaks and says that persons who qualify under Article so and so are A, B, C, D, I expect that the A, B, C, D are considered under that article without more. But when you create a new act which also introduces another word that says household and gives interpretation to that household to include others who are not considered under the constitutional article, then it means that you are trying to bring some inconsistency into the Constitution, because the framers of the Constitution knew that presidents come from households. Nevertheless, and all of us come from households anyway. So if I attended an interview, I wanted to be employed, and I say I come with my household, and therefore my remuneration will have to consider my household. Then everybody, then my father will also come and say, I'm a farmer. My remuneration will have to be considered as the size of my household. No, but you are coming for that appointment, and they're looking at you as a person. That is what the Constitution looks at: persons, not households. Because household is ambiguous. It is unqualified. So, and your household may be different from my household. So if I become president and I have a household of 8 wives, And then you also come.
That's what
you also come as president.
I know you have.
And you have.
I know you have.
That is not correct. That is incorrect.
But what's wrong?
No. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Stay on course.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong or not wrong. I'm saying it is incorrect.
Okay, that's fine.
And therefore, I don't have more than one.
Okay.
In any case, so I come in and I have one. Roxy comes in, he has 8. So we have interpretational problems.
And how many sidekicks?
So let's not go there. Let's not create problems for ourselves.
Right.
And I want to believe that, in fact, if you even tested the consistency of the Presidential Transition Act in respect of the introduction of the word household in place of persons as defined under the Constitution, probably there could have been a constitutional position on this, because all laws pursuant to the Constitution ought to be consistent with it. So when Article 71 painstakingly identifies qualified persons, it is not within the ambit of any subsidiary law to seek to extend the definition of person to include household. So for me, I think that is there is some inconsistency there. But again, we need to also encourage our first ladies, second ladies to do humanitarian work. But the way to do it must be private,
right, and not
situated on government purse.
Well,
if it becomes so, then there's no office created under law for that. So it cannot be used as another conduit to siphon money from
the Supreme Court has ruled. The offices
and the Supreme Court ruling, I want to believe that by inference, that question that Roxanne wanted answered. So when the Supreme Court says that the payment is unconstitutional, then by inference, it means that the people who extended their mandate to include that, jumped the boundary.
Yes,
that is the implication.
Essential.
So let's take the implied meaning of the ruling to include the same. But I would have been happy if they had pronounced specifically on that.
Indeed. For example, if we want on this, because you see, now there are different sides to it. Proposals made as to what has to be done going forward. If the Constitution doesn't recognize these officers, then why keep them?
So it's been said, there is no constitutional provision to support the office of the wife of the president. And so if there is no constitutional provision, I mean, so be it. You know, J. Kufuor was a very conciliatory president. He was the one who set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission so that he felt that people could voice their dissatisfaction, how they've been maltreated and the pains that they have gone through, they have suffered, from independence up to his regime. He felt that if people were allowed to voice some of these things out and there is genuine reconciliation, then we can heal ourselves as a nation and move forward. Now, in the same vein, he also felt that some wives of former heads of state who had passed on into eternity were still struggling. And he didn't see why, as president who was so much interested in reconciliation, would look on for people who have helped the nation, people who have become heads of state of Ghana, for their wives to be suffering. And I thought it was purely a humanitarian gesture that was commendable and is still commendable. And on that score, I was thinking that it should have ended there. You don't extend a specific humanitarian gesture to help people confronted with a specific challenge to others who do not necessarily experience that challenge. So the idea of extending the courtesy of J. Kufuor to the wives of former heads of state who had passed, to include the wives of 7 president, I mean, was so bad. And you see, this is what we do to ourselves. Sometimes we tend to develop a certain subservient hero worshipping of our leaders, such that when we are given the power or mandate or opportunity to make certain recommendations to help governance, we make recommendations that rather, shore up or expand the frontiers of powers of these leaders to our own detriment. See, Intiamwa Bedu, a very respectable professor. I have a lot of respect for her. She is the woman who who sponsored or helped my journey to the US as part of my PhD. So I have a lot of respect for her. But I think that to the extent that as a university professor, she would never recommend that given the nature of the work that she is doing, the state must pay her husband. I don't see why you should make that recommendation for the president. Apia Kubi Andy here is a member of parliament who does a lot of work for Ghana. Nelson Roxen Dafiamakbo is being to court. I'm sure he funded the whole process himself and all that. Nobody is talking about their wives being funded by the state. So why do we all of a sudden develop a certain subservient hero worshipping of people who do not even deserve it? Because they get there and instead of serving us, they don't serve us. They serve themselves. They serve themselves. They are self-seeking. They are self-perpetuating. They are self-aggrandizing cabals. And yet, when we get an opportunity to make recommendations to help the governance process, instead of curtailing their powers, we want to make more recommendations as for we are beggars and we are always hero worshipping them. Look, the president per the 1992 constitution, I've always argued, is like a political King Kong. The president has too many powers. And we should be thinking about curtailing powers and not be thinking about creating other avenues for the exercise of the executive powers. You see, if you hear people talk about these wives of certain presidents, they will tell you that these are very powerful people. These are very powerful people. These are very powerful people. We should be thinking as a nation, if you are not reviewing our constitution, we should be thinking about curtailing the exercise of powers and not be expanding the frontiers for the exercise of power. And I'm saying that if you pay that is the essence of constitutionalism. The idea of constitutionalism is checking, curtailing the exercise of powers. Okay, so if we go with the idea that, well, let us pay first ladies and second ladies and all that, you are making them also powerful in a manner that expands the frontiers of the exercise of powers in Ghana. And I think that is not something that we have to condone. And so, if Professor Mills is dead, his wife is there, if he is not living well, if things are not good for him, and then the state and the state wants to offer some assistance, I think that one is good. But not presidents who are working, okay, and are being paid. They are being paid well enough, and they have more than what it takes to take care of their wives. Right. If you're a president and you cannot take care of your wife, you are not worth your salt, you must resign. If you're a vice president and you cannot take care of your wife, you are not worth your salt, you must resign. Why we always, instead of saving money, we are always looking for avenues to spend. I'm not eyeing or I'm not attacking, or I'm not looking at any particular president's wife or vice president's wife. I'm just saying that it's a bad practice. We should be thinking about ways and means of saving money and using the money judiciously and wisely to bring about improvement in the physical quality of life. We should not be always thinking about avenues where we can dissipate and there will be leakages and slippages of public funds. The President of the Republic is super paid well to be able to take care of his wife. And so any arrangement that extends what J. Kufuor did, okay, to that level of absurdity, and so you want to put the office of the First Lady also on the payroll and asking the taxpayers to pay for it. I mean, I think it is not good. It also expands the frontiers of the powers of the executive, and it is that, if that is condoned, then we are gradually weakening the idea of ensuring that we have constitutionalism. If that is condoned, it means we are shoring up the already expansive powers of the executive president. And I think that it's not something that we must condone. So, Nelson, Roxanne, congratulations. Thank you. Ghana thanks you. And then also, I believe that the ruling of the Supreme Court was in the right direction. And it's something that, so let us not hazard or be brainstorming the idea of regularizing it. I don't agree with Professor Yan or legislating to support it. I mean, I don't agree with that kind of proposal, because we must be thinking about curtailing the exercise of powers. We should not be creating other avenues where it says a First Lady, if you want to go and see the president, you have to go and see the wife, and the wife is being funded, the wife is being paid, and so she also becomes so powerful. And I mean, this does not promote constitutionalism. It must not be condoned.
It must not be condoned. Thank you, gentlemen, from both the legal and governance perspective. I have three lawyers, the governance expert here, all making the proposals on what has to be done going forward. Thank you for this. Now, the next issue is the president finally, issued a statement which is captioned as an action on KPMG's findings and recommendations on the transaction between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, that's SML. Now, I've called portions of this statement that was released on the 24th of April this week from the presidency. We'll see on the screen shortly. But the president says he has acted on the findings and recommendations and has, by the letter dated Thursday, 18th April, given directives to the findings to the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority. Here are the findings. KPMG made the following findings. No technical needs assessment was done prior to the engagement of SML. That's instructive. That's according to the president's own letter. No technical needs assessment was done prior to the engagement of SML. However, such an assessment was not legally required for engaging SML. After SML was engaged, a Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors Industry Report 2021, Ernst & Young, gentlemen, audit report commissioned by GRA and a report by the Revenue Assurance and Compliance Enforcement of the Ministry of Finance all found that there might be under-reporting, under-declaration, and potential revenue leakages. So there was a problem or that needed to be solved. 2, on 3 occasions between June 2017 and September 2017, GRA sought approval from the Public Procurement Authority to use the single source procurement method to engage SML to provide transaction audit services. The PPA, note, did not grant that approval. Subsequently, GRA engaged SML as a subcontractor to West Blue Consulting, which was already providing services to GRA at the ports. SML eventually took over the services provided by West Blue when the latter's contract came to an end on 31st December 2018. We know the circumstances under which West Blue's contract was either came to an end or, as someone say, terminated. But GRA then added external price verification to the services offered by SML and signed a downstream petroleum audit agreement with SML. And bear in mind, there was no PPA approval for the first instance. All these were done without PPA approval. So the signing of the downstream petroleum audit agreement with SML and the external price verification agreement were done without the Public Procurement Authority approval. This is according to the President's statement. Now, following a change of the leadership at GRA, the new leadership sought to regularize the contract, which was not without PPA approval, with SML on the 27th of August 2020. So fundamental questions that, based on this report by the presidency, GRA will have to answer is as to why they thought that regularizing this contract with SML that did not have the public procurement approval was the right thing to do after the change of the leadership in 2020. PPA eventually then went ahead, ratified the procurement process used to engage SML. In 2023, the Ministry of Finance, GRA, and SML entered into a revenue assurance service contract. This 2023 contract extended the scope of SML services to include upstream petroleum and minerals audit. So not just the downstream now. If you go through the other portions, essentially details a number of things. Regarding the downstream petroleum audit service, KPMG determined that there was an incremental volume of 1.7 billion liters and an incremental tax revenue of over 2.45 billion for the period under review. So questions, can this be attributed to the engagement of SML for this incremental value in volumes? Because that's one of the responses that SML claims, that based on their engagement, this is one of the benefits that the state, you and I, have received. The total fees, and we'll put that on the screen right now, the total fees paid under the contract from 2018 to date of suspension amounts to over 1 billion cedis. No fee has been paid for the upstream audit and minerals audit service. SML, in their response, challenged this, that this figure excludes the taxes paid to GRA and their investments. So it cannot be the case that 1 billion was paid to them. The total fees estimated to be paid to SML under the 2023 contract for 5 years is over 5 billion. Well, that's an average of 1 billion a year. That has not been effected as yet. These are the recommendations by KPMG, and let's put the recommendations on the screen right now. 1, the government acting through the Ministry of Finance and GRA may terminate the contract with or without cause upon giving 120 days written notice before the effective date of determinations stated in the termination notice. They go on to say, upon termination, the government may be liable to pay SML for services already completed but not yet paid, and the government will not be entitled to a refund. That is, you and I, of any compensation already paid to SML, regardless of the termination cause. In the event of termination without cause, government becomes liable to pay SML a return on investment equivalent to the fair value of SML's investment in the respective contract. And SML says they've invested over 4.4 billion into this. That's what you see there, that figure. That's what SML says they have invested in this agreement, this contract. So I'll bring you in here, and later also acknowledge the presence of Bright Simmons, Vice President of Money Africa. Lawyer Martin Klebo, it's a case you've been following quite closely. There's that demand for this, the full details of the report to be made public. Because now we are all commenting on what the president has seen and issued.
Yes.
And SML is responding to what the president issued. But the full complement of the report will do us some good, is it not?
Absolutely. And you remember a few weeks ago, we mentioned that getting the full complement of the report is non-negotiable, because even JM, who was characterized as corrupt, etc., in 2016, released the full GDA report. So 7.5 years on, or almost 8 years on, I can't imagine a situation where we will not get the full report. No, that would be too much of a retrogression. So you remember that I made the point that though we know that history is proving that JM is more honest than Akufo-Addo, he should make an attempt in these last few months. He should make an attempt to catch up with JM. Yeah, he should make an attempt. It's very late, but I never know. There are miracles, right? You know, a lot of us are Christians, and of course, people belong to other faiths, so there are miracles. Because, listen, I look at it and I'm like, oh, is that Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, that we have to make so much noise before President Akufo-Addo releases the report? I thought that, based on our experience in 2016, he would have even made the release of the full report simultaneous with the his own comments, and there's a letter from Eugene Ahim. Yes, he should have made them simultaneous. Then we'll see that, oh, we've gone forward, right? But for me, the fact that we are now baying for his blood, release the report, it means that it's a retrogression. Yeah, it's a retrogression of what we experienced in 2016. Because if in 2016, lots of people had to make so much noise, and then JM released a report. In 2024, there shouldn't be any agitation, any noise. It should have just been released. Boom. As I said, simultaneous with his own, what do you call it, comments and etc. on it. You see, so this retrogression is unpardonable. It's extremely unpardonable. As I keep saying, Akufo-Addo, by every single act, is proving himself as the chief campaigner for JM. Yeah, Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. Yeah, they are the chief campaigners for JM because they say what? Actions speak louder than words. So if all their actions are bad governance, bad economics, etc., then it's their opponent that they are strengthening. You say, yes, and I'm like, so how do you keep campaigning for your opponent like this? In actual fact, he went and brought your opponent, somebody we had totally this word thrown into the doldrums, somebody who had died. You've raised him from ashes like a phoenix by your bad conduct, bad governance. Is that not so? You think since Akufo-Addo and Bawumia took over, if they had performed excellently, stellar performance in governance, press freedom, corruption, etc., if everything changed the structure of the economy and everything, you think NDC would have dared to bring back JM? No, it's not brainer. So every day for me, I keep saying that it's Akufo-Addo who has returned JM. Yes, Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, they have single-handedly resurrected JM, raising JM from the ashes like a phoenix. You know, the proverbial.
Does this statement from the presidency raise fundamental questions about this engagement, this GRASML engagement at all?
Okay, let's go to that aspect. Yes, you would see that, look, yesterday night, you know what I did? I was looking for the documentary to watch again. I wasn't fine, so I had to go to Manasseh, then he sent it. I just watched the documentary again, and I was like, look, the fundamental questions are this. You find people who gave interviews, and please, my emphasis is that the interviews weren't surprise interviews. It's not like they were ambushed. We're scared. I like the word. Scheduled interviews. You hear Christian Soti. Do you do under declaration, diversion, and dilution services? No. Do you do under declaration, diversion, and dilution services? He says no, and that's the chief executive speaking on what? A scheduled interview. Number two, that's Christian Soti. Two, you go to Ibrahim Abubakar. So one of the, I think he's their IT chief and everything. Manasseh asked him, so let's look at the services, what they said they were providing. They said they do the tank gauging. So they had some machines they plugged into the tanks. The technology they are using is less efficient than what NPA itself had. Manasseh asked him, between the two technologies, right, what you have and what the NPA has, which one is better? Ibrahim Abubakar in the documentary said the NPA one is better. Can you imagine? Number three, you go to the 3 billion that they said they've saved the country, and Daily Graphic made it front page. And you see, it's worrying the way Daily Graphic does some of this. And do you see that Look, even this story, with all the findings, do you know the publication Daily Graphic gave earlier this week? President says SML contract to continue. Can you imagine? I look at that Daily Graphic. Why is so spineless? After all, no, it's a front page. Look at the kind of, look at the front page. Yeah, do you have it? I'll bring it up. So the point is that after all this rot, so we was asked about the 3 billion. That's the third point. Christian Soti says no, he doesn't know about this. What do you call it? 3 billion that they are alleged to have saved the country. And yet Daily Graphic published it. They didn't verify anything. Number 4, you come to the extension of the services to the upstream petroleum sector.
The additional contract.
Exactly, which Oforiata okay. And you're like, what's the basis? No basis. No basis. And yet Oforiata said do it. So you see why we think it's a scam? It's a scam by the cabal. Yes, it's a scam.
You were talking about the services.
Yes.
Under declaration, dilution, and diversion of petroleum products.
Yes. They said they don't.
So, well, in what was reported, when Manasseh pointed out the claims to the management of the SML from the company's website, Mr. Soti said the information was put on the website in error.
Thank you. Excellent. So you say, yes, that's the MDO. I want to place all emphasis on the fact that the interview was what? Scheduled. It wasn't an ambush. And you see somebody like Manasseh ask you for an interview, you know that, hey, hell is going to break loose. Hell is going to break loose.
Better be prepared.
Exactly. So it means that there was nothing else he could do. Look at the Daily Graphic publication this week. It says SML cleared to continue work.
That's not what the president said. But I think we established that.
Yeah, okay. So look at Daily Graphic. Useless. Go on. So then, so I was aligning all the points to show that this thing was really so bad.
Okay.
You go to Mustafa Hamid, and that's the point again. Let's repeat. Hamid, what do you know about the contracts? He says he doesn't know anything about this contract. Mustafa Hamid says he doesn't know anything about it. And for me, from what Mustafa Hamid is saying, that's a huge security breach. A huge one, because as CEO of MPA, somebody comes to plug some machines into your tanks. And you're saying that CEO is not aware. MPA has staff at the tanks. I hope when I say the tanks, you see that the big tanks for storing the oil. MPA has staff there. GRA have staff there, because those are boss also have staff there. Yes, those are what? Custom bonded warehouses. Though you find them tanks, so yet you see that they say that's a custom bonded warehouse. So the thing that beggars believe is that even assuming GRA will not inform Mustafa Hamid, his own staff are there, and SML came and plugged in their machines, and so Mustafa Hamid is saying his staff never informed him. Is that what we're saying? And he says, at that time, July last year, he is looking forward to checking with SML what they are doing, and saying that it's potentially what? Duplicitous. It's duplicitous, right?
I want us to hear exactly what Mustafa Hamid said in that documentary. Now, take a look at this.
The ERGMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ICOMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
The ERDMS system that we call the Enterprise Relational Data Management System. It's a system, for example, that now allows all transactions in the industry to be made on a digital platform, okay, and which therefore allows us visibility, okay, and then also allows us to disable people from operating or lifting petroleum products once they are found to be in default of whatever statutory margins or taxes or levies that they haven't lived up to. So the ERDMS, the absence of the ERDMS at that time, where things were done manually and so on, were perhaps part of some of the regulatory challenges. But since that system was installed, a lot of that has been stemmed.
Without this electronic order, BRV cannot enter inside. And this information, when it comes from NPA portal, it is 100% correct.
Once you are able to track whatever is happening on the ERDMS to ICOMS, I mean, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, you are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis.
So that's the affirmation by the NPA that they were doing or already have some systems in place doing what the SML was contracted to have been doing over the period. So then, was there a problem with the NPA system, reason why a third party was needed?
Absolutely no.
Well, this is what the president's statement says about the KPMG report, which we are yet to see.
Yeah.
The point 3 says there's a clear need for the downstream petroleum audit services provided by SML. GRA and the state have benefited from these services since SML commenced providing them. There has been an increase in volumes of 1.7 billion liters. Can we ascribe that increase to the services of SML?
No.
Why?
So, if you go into the documentary, you see the GRA, one of the officers, explaining how annually there's even an increment and other indicators that they use. So in the documentary, GRA is very clear that you can't attribute the increment in the volumes to SML. But even look, before you even get there, as I said, please, listen, Mr. Ocansey, can you play that part where Manasseh asked Ibrahim Abubakari, which one is more efficient?
All the time. So
yes.
And Ibrahim Abubakari says the NPA GRA one is better. I think we should play that one. The officer who says he's the IT guru, when he was asked between the two, which is better, he says the NPA GRA one is better. So, and you go on into the documentary, they say they don't use the SML data. Oh, and then another very key point. The issue of the diversion doesn't happen at the tanks. When you load, diversion happens when the truck is taking off, and let's say it's supposed to come to TV3. Then, they don't go to TV3. Exactly. And I was involved in a court case, right? Where the MPA system was working. The driver was going somewhere. Sure. The system blew.
Because there are trackers on
the there were trackers. The system blew. So we ended up in court. Then finally we settled. What's the meaning of giddy giddy giddy? You know, like there was a struggle. And don't play with Guardian English. Because you know, when you go on website, the English themselves admit that there are 70 dialects of the English language. So giddy giddy should be. Very soon we should have the Ghanaian English dictionary.
While you round up for me. Yes,
okay, yes. So you see that the MPA system works. Diversion, which is one of the biggest problems, SML says it doesn't do. So what are we confronted? And as I keep saying, look, if you want to understand this whole system, what was happening, that the fact that this thing is a scam, I can't see how you bring in a game changer, okay, this mother of all technologies, whatever, to change the system, and Mustafa Hamid is not aware. That is the beginning of the thing. Beginning of unraveling it. The CEO, you say you've come, you are changing the whole system, you are going to improve revenue assurance, everything. And the CEO of the MPA is not in the know, Master. That is the beginning of the scam. Okay. So if you go to the, just finally on this one sentence. So you see the paragraphs 3 and 4 of the Eugene Ayin's letter, then you see that he tries to massage the failures of SML to provide the services by saying that that regarding the transaction audit services, KPMG concluded that SML partially delivered on the service requirement, partially. But then GRA and Co, they are saying 0, they don't use the data. He's saying partially delivered. You go to paragraph 4. Regarding the external price verification service, they use the word again, partially delivered, something that's already in the icons. You see? So no wonder they said remove the external price verification services. So for us, this thing is very clear. Oforiatta led charges for us to be scammed. Okay. Oforiatta, this lands on your desk. Mustafa Hamid, you too. If you're lying, well, posterity will...
Let me bring in the Honorable Andy Appiah at this point, because you see, as representatives of the people, obviously, for the minority and led by the ranking on the Finance Committee, the Honorable Isaac Adongo, making the demand that Parliament should at least be furnished with a full report, so that you would also be clothed with the details to know exactly what KPMG found and what has to be done going forward. Because you also made demands for the termination of this contract, which eventually was done.
When you say you,
I mean, I'm talking about your other colleagues on the other side. The
minority.
Minority.
Good.
So do you support that call for the release of the full report, at least for all to see?
Whether there was a call or not, reports are meant to be served on interested parties. And therefore, it does not take somebody to call for the reports to be published. The reports are done for the country Ghana. And if we are interested in knowing what is there, why not? So for me, the call is appropriate. Publish it. In fact, we spend public finance to get such reports, organized. And when they come and stay on shelves, what benefit will we have? For nothing at all. For education that we will get from it, those of us, we will be able to, in future, refer to some of the deliverables. So it's important that it is published. I'm not sure that anybody is trying to sell it. I'm not sure. I'm not aware of that. And indeed, once the president acted upon the national cry that it must be subject to some audit, and the audit has come, for me, all the information leading up to the commission of the audit are not relevant to me. If we know that KPMG is qualified and adequately resourced to be able to undertake that assignment, otherwise we should have criticized the president's appointment at that time, but we didn't. So now my understanding is that KPMG has finished its work and has published it. So be it as it has been, I think we must begin to interrogate the report of the KPMG to see whether we can find some mishaps within the report and deal with it. President has accepted, and President has accepted even the recommendations of the report. And for me, it is at that point that we need to make input into it. And I asked three basic questions. The first question is, was there a need for that services? Was there a need? Did we have any shortages in the supply chain, the downstream? Pursuant to the engagement of, well, the other point is that were they procured legally? That's another question. If they were, that's one thing. And beyond that, the report or the assessment of their performance, did they bring us any revenue advantages? If there are, then the final question, was that engagement justified? I mean, if we attempt to answer these four questions. But I'll start with whether or not there was a need. And indeed, I will not even refer to either KPMG or the response of SML or the president's comment. I have the privilege of seeing a report from Ernst & Young in respect of same services. And trust me, yesterday I almost cried when I got hold of this report from Ernst & Young. And Ernst & Young's report is saying 2020, January, you see, ERDMS figure was 180,356,000 1,650. Out of that, GRA captured only 7 million. Only 7 million. And the implication is that when you capture, it is that which GRA captures that duties are paid on.
Subject to tax.
Subject to tax.
The rest.
So the rest gone. Ghana loses. And if I mention, out of the 180 million plus, Ghana lost revenue on 173 million plus.
Which year is this?
2020, January 2020. Ghana lost. Again, if...
does this precede the period?
No, let me go to February.
Yeah.
The February one is 185 million 913 and it was only 17,293,000 that was captured under GRA for tax purposes. And so the February of 2020 we lost revenue on 168,620,000 and more. We lost as a country. Now we go to March. March, the value was 193,311,000, and GRA captured 62,199,000, meaning we lost also on 131 million revenue on 131 million. And so also, let me conclude with the April one. The April one was 168, and GRA was able to capture 166 million. That was impressive. So we lost 1,426,000. You see, so if you look at all this, who are beneficiaries of the revenue that should have accrued to the state? There is a system, there is a group of people who are interested in this money, ought to have been paid to government. It doesn't come to government. Where is that money? But again, after all, what I am unhappy about is that the report doesn't recommend how to retrieve all those lost revenue. That's my pain. Because I expected KPMG to have concluded that, well, if within a certain time we lost so much, how do we retrieve that money?
That is if their mandate covered.
Yes, but obviously, what is the essence of the investigation? If the investigation will only bring us results and not touch on what is critical, the money that is lost, so why did we even constitute that investigation? So in trying to link this to the need for the services, well, if we are losing this much, so do we have to continue? And indeed, all these state institutions that you are mentioning have been present when we are losing so much. So do we have to continue to lose it? Now, I went to US.
We understand SML says it is not doing the under declaration that Ernst & Young identified.
Yes.
SML is not checking that.
I'm pointing that to the fact that there is a need for an audit. I'm trying to establish that if these things have gone, and even if SML is not doing that, and so because SML didn't do this, do we allow it to go?
Some of them, they are linked to politicians.
No, I don't know.
They are linked. I know one case. Listen. Politicians, some MPs and ministers.
Even if it's linked to me, even if it is linked to me.
I know at least one case.
Listen. Even if it is linked to me, is it a justification to allow it to go?
No, certainly not. But I'm just saying why they are not acting.
Well, we have opportunity to talk about it. So I'm talking about it, and I want to share a very painful experience that I had leading a delegation to the US and 3 years or 4 years ago. The man told me that Ghanaians, you don't even know the value of your natural resource deposits. You don't know it. And he told me that if people come in with application for exploration, we approve for them to go and explore and come and tell us what we have. You see, for you to go into contract, not knowing what you are contracting on, for your contracting party to tell you what you have in your hands that you are giving to him, that is the beginning of the danger.
Whether what he's told you is true.
Whether what he's telling you is the truth or not, you go on and just work with his figures. And in most cases, when these people come and secure prospective licenses, they not only under declare, my brother, they go into mining rather than prospecting. And therefore, by the time you are aware about extraction is done, and the huge part of it is gone already. Before you come and sit down with him and be talking figures. Figures manufactured by himself, by your contracting party. So for me, the whole natural resource area in Ghana is a joke. We need to rethink and relook at it. So for me, if you are going to the market, you don't know what you are going to sell, and you ask the purchaser to tell you what is in your hand selling to him, what do you expect? They'll take advantage of you. So it is critical that we have some audit of a kind, not only the audit of that which is being discharged, but the audit of that which we have. And we must do that consistently. And when we have known what we have, then we can leverage that against that which is being extracted day by day. And therefore, for me, coming to the conclusion whether or not such audit services are necessary, I say a big yes. They are.
Well, that's what the president.
And I want to even extend
on KPMG report also.
I want to even extend it to cover that which Ernst & Young covered, so that the whole continuum will be subject to audit. So for me, it is necessary in the presence of all these state institutions mandated to undertake the same assignment, having not done adequately in these areas, I would say yes, we need such audit services.
Well, this is what...
Now, let me go on to the method of procurement. For any reason, if procurement defaults occurred in the contracting, who do you blame?
Who do you blame?
I will blame the state.
You mean?
I will not blame any contracting party. If I'm coming into contract with you, do I have to take care of you?
Wait. So in this instance,
yes,
it is who? The finance
when the whole machinery of government is there, and I am coming as a private individual, private person, coming to negotiate with you, coming to contract with you, you want to invest in me the burden of your negligence. How will you
so the finance ministry or the GRA should be asking questions?
When you go to court on a criminal charge, and Martin will tell you, the state, with the whole apparatus of the state, if you are not able to prosecute Nelson, my friend Nelson will go scot-free. He may at times not need to even open a defense. So a private entity has come into Ghana and says that I can give you these services, and I have the capacity to do A, B, C, D, and I want to contract with you. And you, as a country, nation, you have your laws on procurement, and you will throw away the procurement laws and go into contract with me, and I sign, and you sign,
and you come and blame me,
and you come and blame him as the private entity. Please find a place for your blame. It's not him. And if I was a lawyer for the company, I wouldn't carry the burden of, understanding even your procurement laws. Once I put my proposals before you and you agree to them, please.
Oh, how?
Why should I?
You also go to jail. But if they are prosecuting procurement, you are also part of it.
He is part of it as what? He has brought his proposals to you. And you...
Look at the court and financial forcing. Is he not in court with all the other people who are?
Well, they are in court in different capacities, but not as accused persons.
The company's Japan is Japan not for the what's company?
The fact that you take me to court,
the private businessman is before court.
If the fact that you take me to court erroneously doesn't mean that I carry any guilt.
So are you saying?
So I come to you as a contracting party. I bring you a proposal. As a business person, I want to do this is for you. It is for you to investigate my proposal and reconcile with the existing laws so that you will go through the laws in attempting to procure. But if you neglect the warnings under the law and you come into contract with me and you go to court, what the court understands is the relationship between the two parties, and it is situated within the contract.
Okay, so who bears the burden?
Let me.
Yes.
Let's give a quick answer so that I see the ambulance is inside.
You have your time, you come. So I don't see anything wrong that the company has done. If there were procurement breaches, I'll lay it at the doorstep of GRE, not the company. Now, the next question is whether or not, as a result of their intervention, we have made some savings. And President, in his report, indeed, I'm not going into Manesse, I'm not going into NPA, because I understand it better than that. And I decided to pick this independent, report. President has acknowledged that out of the intervention of the institution, we have made some savings. Unless anybody comes to tell us that we got zero revenue returns, then I would say that that service has not produced anything. So once it has produced something, and indeed, let me probably end with the recommendations, that they are even saying that the upstream services are even necessary based on the performance of the downstream. That is, unless terminate doesn't mean cancel. Terminate doesn't mean cancel. And termination connotes and termination also connotes going through the law, going through the contract to terminate. It is not by your whims. Just coming out and say, I terminate. No. You have a contract on the table, and you have laws governing the contract also. So if you may means you may either or you may not. Yes. So if you decide to take the course of termination, then you follow the consequences.
Yeah. Okay.
If you decide that, well, in the light of the circumstances, we will continue with the contract, then it's another decision that is situated in the recommendations. But again, one thing that I want to also encourage is that the local content input in this arrangement. In Ghana, we are too comfortable criticizing our own, and we want to invite. If it had been when Blue Sky, when the foreign company was doing, we had nothing wrong with it. If it had been, there was let me then you come out with a statement.
The president did not say that the savings have been made. It's a KPMG. He's quoting the KPMG report. Mm-hmm. The third point, which is captured in the president's statement, because you and I haven't seen the KPMG report, says there's a clear need for downstream petroleum audit services provided by SML. GRA and the state have benefited from these services.
The man you are crucifying
commended. I'm coming to a point. You see, if the report says revenue increase within the period, this revenue is the tax on the fuel we buy at the pumps. We need to distinguish that. So if we buy more fuel this year,
Albert, from what you are reading,
how does that go?
Albert, from what you are reading, the preamble, the preamble to your conclusion.
I'm coming. Let be answered. Yes.
Okay. The preamble to your conclusion is evaluating the services of SML, and he's saying that based on that performance, you have read it now. There is the need for us to go into the upstream. That is, provide similar services. Is he not conclusively saying that I approve of the contract? That is exactly what President appears to be saying. And for me, I was talking about the local content. You see, we have to be careful that everything that comes from beyond our borders is good. Anything that comes from Ghana is bad. there is that presumption so that the eyes that we take into investigations are always tainted with an expectation of wrongdoing. And for me, let's look at it I ask critical 4-5 questions, and I'm attempting to answer all of them. And in that, based on the reading from my host, I want to conclude that it is necessary that we do audit not only on the downstream, but also on the upstream.
Okay.
And therefore, this service that has provided, so the assurance for the president to make such pronouncement ought to be applied to the upstream also. And therefore, for me personally, even the local content and the technology transfer that has come to Ghanaians, we must exploit it. And again, I started by talking about the inadequacy in evaluating our natural resource endowment.
Okay.
So we must even go there and find out. So Ghana can go to the marketplace and say that I have lithium of this quantity, and comparative to world prices, this is how I want to sell my lithium. Instead of somebody coming to me and telling me you have lithium in Sopong and your lithium is so much, and I'll offer you this amount of money for your lithium. Oh, bless my soul. Praise God. At least somebody has come to buy my lithium. You are not aware, but for nothing at all.
Okay. Let me show you.
I have read the lithium contract, and I want to commend the minister because it is so far the best contract in natural resources.
Things that's for the lithium matter. You are bringing and you if you say it's the best so far, that's your own view.
No. In comparison with other natural resource contracts,
other areas.
You'll be playing on my emotional keyboard.
No, Prof.
It's okay. You made your point.
One sentence. Let me. One sentence. I'm saying that it is the best in comparison with existing natural resource contracts.
Okay. This is the SML response to some of the things that the president's statement captured. And regardless, if this is even a Ghanaian company, as has been stated, if there are questions and concerns, we have to raise them so that we get answers to it.
Good.
It serves all
Very
of
well.
us and our greater good.
Very well.
Because you cannot say that because it's a Ghanaian company.
No. I didn't say that for once.
Findings suggest fees under 5 years contract amount to 1 billion cedis was false. SML disagrees with findings. No needs assessment was done. But this is the KPMG report. They indicated that no needs assessment was done. As I read earlier, SML disagrees that transaction audit and external price verification wasn't done. They also talk about a number of things that they disagree with.
Yes, by all means, let's improve the system as we have it.
Certainly.
But not bastardize the whole process.
They say they exonerate SML and confirm the need for the company's proven services. But this is an issue which we will come to. So these allegations of impropriety, they give details of debunking the false claim of $100 million paid to SML and refuse the 10-year contract claims as made by the Fourth Estate and Manasseh. But was there a real need for the services? It's one angle of the conversation that we'll have this morning. Professor Jampo, I'll bring you here at this point to take him.
Well, I think we should be. Let's take note of this. We have been bastardizing President Akufo-Addo for not doing enough in the fight against corruption. And generally, the posture of this particular regime does not help in the fight against corruption. That's why my own teacher, Professor Jimabuedi, once said publicly that as for President Akufo-Addo, his track record in the fight against corruption is in tatters. And so that is what we know. And we've been asking that there will be some actions on the part of the president so that he will leave a legacy of having done a U-turn and having done something against this damning description of his regime. Now, so when this SML deal came up, I think we were all concerned about what was going on. And it appears that because of the posture of the regime in fighting corruption, even if it does something that is worth commendable, we don't want to see it. I was looking at you when you were projecting the president's, response. You took your time and did it one after the other. I was the one who told you that project SML's response to. And when you did that, you were just rushing through it. I think that, yes, we must do all we can to fight against corruption. And we must do all we can to take regimes on that appear to be condoning acts of corruption. But if somebody is also trying to help, and we get into whatever activity the person is undertaking on behalf of a state, and we find out that, well, there are positives and then there are negatives. Let us have a balanced view of things, and if there is a clear need for the services that are being delivered for the state, let us make that point. If there is a need for some adjustment, mutations, and changes here and there, just to make sure that the service that is being delivered works well for Ghana and for all of us, I think we should be talking along that line. But it appears that because the regime is noted for clearing people and all that, clearing people even before they are investigated. I mean, we have fixated in that kind of posturing, and so we don't want to see anything. We are calling for, of course, I was the one who wrote publicly to the president that we should have the report released to all of us. And so I still associate myself with the call for the report to be released. But it should be released on condition that we'll read. The discussions here that we've held, it tells me that clearly we have not read even the scanty report recommendation from the president and then the scanty response from SML. We have not done thorough reading of the two. I am an academic. What I can do is to look at both reports, the report response from the president and then the response from SML, and then make a judgment. You cannot look at one side of the coin and then ignore the other. So in reading the two, looking at the response from the president, and then also looking at the response from the SML, I mean, certain things come up quite, clearly. Of course, if unless we say we disagree or we doubt what the president is saying, and we all must see the president, the report. If we want to base our judgment and analysis on the response from the president and response from SML, then we can say that contrary to what we were told, that the contract was going to be 10 years. It's come out that it was not 10. It was not 10 years. And let us make this point that, look, if we will still want to base our analysis on the documentary, then we shouldn't have all called for an investigation into the matter. But once an investigation has come, and an investigation has been conducted, an audit has been conducted, and then findings have been made, we cannot throw away the president's response, the findings of the investigation, and then the response of SML, and then just zoom in on the documentary. Because in the documentary, we're told that the contract was going to be 10 years, and it turned out that it was not 10 years, rather 5 years.
That is the minimus.
No, let me finish. I mean, when I didn't like some of the things you were saying, but I kept quiet. Okay. And then also, we're told that. No, please. We're told that.
Gentlemen, hold on.
We were told that some $100 million have been paid. It turned out that it was false. We were told that the work of the SML was duplication, but it turns out that if you look at what the president's response said, there is no duplication of work with respect to the work of the National Petroleum Authority. I mean, I'm basing what I'm saying. No,
where exactly?
There is a clear need. If there is a clear need for the downstream petroleum audit service provided by SML. If
but
there
you
is,
see the ERDMS,
no, please.
The
no.
enterprise relational data management.
So the system that NPA has put in place doesn't work.
Let me. Well, I'm judging. I'm doing my analysis based on what the president has said and then what the response that has.
False. That's
okay.
not meant.
Well, you can say it's false,
well,
but let me make my point, Martin. And then also we are told that GRA awarded the 2023 consolidated contract to SML, and SML says that it followed due processes. There is a concern that due processes were not followed. It should have gone to Parliament, and then it didn't go to Parliament. And you made that point that if somebody, if the state contracting a private business person refuses to follow due processes, why do you blame the incompetence of the state on a private
whole machinery of state?
I mean, and then also we must make the point that SML has a risk-reward performance-based contract, which SML fully finances without a PESWA from the government. You finance, and then if the reward comes, then the point.
But you will not see
the point.
Okay,
no. The point has also been made that some $1 billion dollars or something was paid, and then SML has come out to say that no, you cannot talk about that amount without talking about taxes, 31% that are being deducted as source, cost of investment, and other
related matters.
Other related costs that we have to deduct from. So generally, this is my view. It appears that, you see, Reverend Charles Akununu, he was an Assemblies of God pastor in Sopon, who pastored me when I was growing up. He used to say crabology politics. Okay, crabology. It appears that we have the penchant for doing crabology politics on ourselves. So you put crabs, okay, in a bowl, and then one of them begins to climb out of the bowl.
That is a Cape Coast philosophy. Somebody explained to me just last week.
One of them begins to climb out of the bowl, the rest will pull him. Anybody who tries to climb, then the rest will be pulling him. I think that you made that fantastic point, or a point that I wanted to make. Look, if this deal is problematic, let us look at the areas where the problems are, okay, and fine-tune or address those problems. Because clearly the case has been made that there's a need for what they are doing, and there's a need for them to continue. But there are challenges. So let's identify the areas of challenges and then improve upon them, rather than throwing everything that, or talking in a manner that, in my view, discourages private investors in Ghana who may want to sink their money into investments for the purposes of generating employment, for all of us. Okay, I am a bit worried because when it's about stealing of lithium, nobody undertakes an investigative journalism into it. When it's about paying 5% royalties, please, let me finish. See, I'm passionate about this. When it comes to payment of just 5% royalties to us for mining gold, and then foreigners taking 95%, nobody undertakes a private investigation into it because it is being done by foreigners. When it's about exploring oil and then we are getting less than 15%, Gaddafi was saying that if you take oil from my land, I take 70%, you go with 30%. In our part of the world, we are taking less than 15%. And the white man,
and we are still happy.
And the white man is going away with the rest.
That's not.
Please, you if you have the chance, please. But today I don't want to be angry, Martin. Please.
For example, if
let
you're
me
making,
finish.
it's okay.
So let me finish.
If you're making a point that is not accurate, we can just draw your attention to it. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Don't distort my talk.
Yes, it's not accurate. You have to be
that we get 50-55%. So it's not 15. You see, the 15 is not you put taxes. Yes. So apart from what we take the royalties,
no, we don't. Please, check your facts.
Okay, don't worry.
Please.
That's what I'm also studying.
This is something
That's also
I'm also rating extensively.
Do you know what I'll do?
Let's not go
I'll
there.
come that you respond to. Yes,
please.
proceed. Yes.
If it's about
no.
So my point is
hold on.
You look at taxes and everything.
No.
Okay.
Everybody will pay tax.
The point I am trying. The point I'm making is that when it's about the foreigner doing some of these things against us, we have a certain, is it morbid fear or morbid respect for the foreigner? And so, hey, Ubruni, that one is a foreigner doing it, so let us allow them. But if it's about us, we tend to all of a sudden go into this crabology politics, this sense of envy, this sense of skin pain and hatredness. I think it doesn't help. Please, this is my position. I'm saying that if you look, if you have read extensively what the president's response said, and then if you have read what SML has also said in response to the work of KPMG, and then if you have read around and if you've gone around there to study what they do, you have
gone to the SML office.
You have to have a certain understanding, a certain picture that look, clearly they are doing something that is right. But clearly the report also say that there are things that are not being done well. So what do? Do we decide to look at the things that are not being done well and then throw the whole thing away? Is it that the state was giving the SML money to do what it was supposed to do, or the SML itself was self-funding itself and then basing its reward, its returns on reward performance, contract,
But do you know that since you say you've read the report, you've read the president's statement and SML's response as well to the president's statement, because you and I haven't seen the full details of the report.
I mean, and we are calling for the full details of the report.
KPMG also raised questions about the said investments that SML says they have made because they didn't provide any documentation to prove.
That doesn't discount the fact that they made investments.
But you are not. I get you. No, I get you. I mean, you've heard me loud and clear.
Yes.
I've said that. You see, you are refusing to admit here, as a host, that something good is being done.
Yes.
Okay. But all that you are doing is to look at the challenges with the deal. And I'm saying that it is not fair. What you raise is legitimate. If that is what KPMG said, it is legitimate.
Okay.
If it is true, let us interrogate. But my point is that in trying to do the interrogation, let us be balanced. So that my view is the thing they may be doing something right, but things may also not be, there may be challenges here and there. Especially the area of not seeking parliamentary approval.
Wait.
The area, the public procurement. I'm ceding 30 seconds to him.
30 seconds. Just one sentence.
It is your time.
In the report that you yourself read, our host, it said PPA regularized the contract along with it. It is there.
It is in there.
So
we don't want a situation where, we don't want a situation where you had to go without PPA and then later they come into regularization. Okay, I mean, it is a fair point to make.
Okay.
But the point is, let us not involve ourselves so much in this crabology politics where everything, because there are challenges, everything we see about it, we say it's wrong. I am worried because look, we don't have jobs in the country, and under J. Kufuor, who declared a golden age of business. Okay, one of the interventions was to put in place mechanisms that would enable the private sector in the country to thrive, indigenous businesses to flourish so that they can offer employment. And so whilst we seek employment, whilst we put in place some of these interventions to prevent the mass exodus of our young people from the shores of our country to other people's country, let us also be careful to ensure that we don't say things that would frustrate or discourage tomorrow a potential local investor who will say that, look, if I go into this and then there are challenges, people would come in and bash. I'm not saying let us not point out the challenges.
Okay.
If the challenges are there, let us discuss. Right. And so that's why I was very excited when I read the president's acceptance of the recommendation, and portions of which he used the word may. You may terminate. You may terminate. You may I was expecting the president, executive president, to give directives that go ahead and terminate. But it appears that he's seen certain things in the contract or in the deal that makes it quite difficult for you to outrightly say that let's throw away the baby with the bad water. And I think it's something that we must all appreciate. So I'm winding up by saying that
and commend the president for once.
Well, for once, President Akufo-Addo, you have done well, but release the full report. President Akufo-Addo, for once, you have done well, but release the entire report so that the whole idea of why are you shrouding this whole thing in secrecy and all that. Martin and Cody are here. They will read. I will read. Others may not read. But you, for the purposes of transparency, just release the report and then let us see whether there are discrepancies between your responses and then what is actually contained in the entire report. But generally, from what I see, reading all the documents together will do a lot of disservice to ourselves, and will do a lot of crabology politics if we say that we should throw away the baby with the dirty water. There are good things in what they are doing. There are challenges. Where there are challenges, let us try to see how the authorities can work with them, together with them, to address the challenges, so that they will continue to meter our petroleum products.
Well, every question that I have asked this morning is based on the same documents that you have. So if you are asking why we are not acknowledging what the company is doing, it is based on the same concerns that are captured in the president's statement that I asked questions on. We have all admitted here that there are concerns, there are issues that need to be addressed. So if I'm asking those questions based on those issues and also acknowledging the fact that there has to be some audit in place, it doesn't question in any way the fairness that I'm approaching this conversation with. I think that you've stated it. I don't want us to go back and forth. I just wanted to be very clear that as we have... No, don't worry. I want to state clearly that if we are asking questions, it's not being on state of unfairness. We are asking the questions based on the concerns that have been raised by observation of this same report. In fact, this same statement that the president issued. So it is not on the basis of unfairness and
but the point I'm making is that you are measuring on the concerns and the challenges and talking as if nothing.
I think we have acknowledged that there are some challenges in place.
You haven't done that. No, as the challenges we all have acknowledged. But you are measuring on the challenges and going about your questioning as if nothing good has happened. And I'm saying that for us to be fair, if there is something good, let us say something good has happened. If there are challenges, let us highlight the challenges and then have a holistic discussion.
Let's establish this. I think that we stated earlier that there is a need for an audit. As to whether what is in place right now satisfies
as
to whether what is in place right now satisfies what has to be done to address those challenges. We all need to confront it. That there are questions that need to be answered. The right things need to be done. If there is somebody who is claiming to be doing something that is not the case, we all need to raise questions about it.
But nobody is challenging that. That one is an established thing. But absolutely. I'm saying that in trying to do that, you have to look at both sides. The way and manner you are going about it, the discussions, the way and manner we are going about it.
We are having this discussion.
Yes. There's nothing,
but we've looked at both sides.
And I'm saying that,
gentlemen,
let us say...
Indeed. Okay, gentlemen, hold on. Let me bring in Bright Simmons, who is the Vice President of Imani Africa. I'll come to you in a bit, because I know there's that demand for this also to be made
because you finished
to Parliament. But Bright Simmons is joining us. He has to leave in a bit. He's in transit. Simmons, thank you very much for joining us here on Key Point. First of all, because of this aspect of the report, in fact, the statement from the president, that indicates that the upstream petroleum and minerals audit could be a major source of revenue for the state. And if there are leakages, the impact could be significant. KPMG is making recommendations for reviewing these services by conducting a comprehensive needs assessment and engaging stakeholders with diverse interests in the respective sectors. Furthermore, KPMG recommended the need for a value for money assessment in the contract performance process. Any contract of the provision of these services should comply with Section 33 of the PFMA. Now, let me state that we are getting so many messages. Professor Jampo himself has said before that he has been to the SML office to go and interact with them and so on. So I cannot state anywhere that whatever some of you are saying, we don't know that for sure. But he has admitted on the show that he went to the KPMG office to go and interact with them. Sorry, the SML office. You said he went to the SML office to go and learn.
What are people saying?
So he disclosed. So yes, so I needed to make that clear. Yeah, that you have stated that you went to the SML.
What happened when you went there?
No. I don't. You see, as to what happened when he went there is okay. It's okay.
I'm not an armchair researcher.
No. Bryce Simmons, how does the SML come into the picture in this entire need for the upstream petroleum and minerals audit, which KPMG says could be a major source of revenue to the state?
Source of tax revenue for the government is the petroleum and fuel sector. You buy petrol, you buy diesel, maybe for the house you buy LPG, airplanes in this country buy aviation fuel, etc. All of that, all of those sales have tax components which generate revenue for the government. Now, one of the challenges we've had as a country is making sure people pay the right amount of tax. Now, in case of petroleum and fuel, we have a very high component of our consumption that is imported. So when you import the fuel, you are typically a licensee in a category we call BDCs, or bulk distribution companies. And they bring in the fuel through the ports. But because of the way we've applied the taxes are not applied necessarily at the import level. So it's not like if you want to bring in goods, we don't make most of our money through duties like we do in some other goods. We make a lot more of our money when it comes to the fuel taxes, further downstream. So when we say downstream, mean let's think of the port when you bring the goods into the oil from the production point, whether it's from the sea, which is if it's a local production, or in the case where you are importing, let's say when it arrives at the port, as it gets distributed towards the consumer, we call that downstream. So a lot of the taxes are at the downstream level, and that is typically the depots and the filling stations. The problem is when the fuel first arrives, if we're not going to charge all the taxes at the point of importation, then we have to find a way to make sure that we are tracking how much fuel came in and how much fuel has gone into the retail level, so that we sure that the fuel that came into the country, we've taxed all of it. Now, the problem is that the government is worried that in between the fuel arriving at the port, being put in storage and being distributed to the retail level, there is a lot of room for people to escape paying for the taxes, right? So essentially, you go and load the fuel where there's no tax on it, you go and sell it, and when you collect the tax from the consumer, you don't remit to the government. And unless the government is aware of how much you're selling, the government is not able to track carefully how much taxes you should have remitted as an oil marketing company. So there have been a lot of interventions to try and address this. The latest set of interventions address multiple problems that are connected, one of which is the smuggling, the adulteration that attempts to, sometimes if they look at taxes are lower on particular fuel, then they will mix it with the fuel where the taxes are higher, and all of these things lead to revenue losses. So the government has implemented a lot of measures. They have a company that called Authentics
that now has the local agent that helps them to put unique dyes into the fuel in an attempt to make it impossible for people to do dilution or adulteration and things like that. They have a company that is helping them track the products through the supply chain based on a software they call ERDMS. Remember that there are two main regulators here. There's the National Petroleum Authority, which has the primary responsibility for regulating the industry, and which has hired or engaged multiple vendors, at the very least, two main vendors. Actually maybe three more main vendors. The ones that are running the ERDMS, the ones that are doing the tracking and putting the flow meters at various depots and things like that, called Rock Africa, and the one that is doing the traceability, making sure that the fuel is not diluted and things like that. And we pay millions and millions of dollars for all these services in an effort to stop fraud. So that's the NPA. And then you have the GRA, which is the one that actually collects and manages the taxes. And they have also, as you know, implemented a very comprehensive system at the ports called the ICUMS. And through this method, all the goods that are coming to the country are tracked. There are two problems that we tend to confuse. One is establishing liability, knowing that somebody owes tax, and the second one is collecting the tax. They are not the same problem. And both of them lead to revenue losses. So you can know that this company owes tax, but then it's just not paying. And then there are instances where, what they are called that declaration and things like that, the company manages to fool the system and therefore doesn't tell you how much total fuel it's picked up. So the first instance that we hear about this company was when they emerged in an attempt to get involved in the destination inspection area. So basically, even with the ICAMS, which is basically a platform, a software platform, there are still auditing entities that are trying to make sure you are telling the truth, because you can put wrong information into the software platforms and like of it. And West Blue was one of those type of companies where you can think of them as a verification service. And when the government decided that they're going to insert SML into this whole auditing space, the first attempt was to go to the Public Procurement Authority and require single source approval for that to be achieved. Unfortunately, they did not get the approval because the Public Procurement Authority looked into the matter and decided that the single source arrangement didn't make sense. And that information, nobody has published it. Nobody has seen it. But it was clear that they did some assessment. They concluded that it was not fit for purpose. The government then finds a way to get them still involved as a subcontractor to West Blue. And as you know, West Blue was eventually kicked out. And this company was then brought on board to take their role. While they are taking their role, that then created a track record for the company, which nobody knew before, and which we now know is owned by some timber merchant and a relative. So this company then, now having been established, inserted into the auditing space in Ghana, then succeeds in getting itself involved in the downstream sector on the basis that the existing companies that are doing the tracking themselves could be shady. And so they will come in and then introduce additional flow meters and things to track the fuel. The issue that then arises is whether or not, and there are three key issues, whether or not this company has any track record in this space. And there's a reason why we must trust them more than we must trust other auditing companies in the country, including those that are already doing this kind of work, those that are providing the ERDMS, those like Rock Africa that are providing flow meters. Remember that the MP is already spending large amount of money implementing these flow meters in every depot in the country, both at the retail end and at the wholesale end. And they are connecting all of that infrastructure together using the ERDMS. So while we are talking about SML, more government money is being spent to do exactly the objectives that SML is purportedly achieving on behalf of Ghana, of the government of Ghana. Now, the question therefore is why? What is special about SML? Who are they? What nature of, what is their technology? Where did it come from? That makes them so superior. That's something that the MP and everybody else has already been doing. Is considered inferior, that until they come in, and if what the MP and the rest are doing are inferior, then why are we still paying for that? Why don't we just simply throw all of them out and let SML alone do the job? So that's the first issue that arises. The second issue that arises is that then the decision was made that they will be paid based on the volumes of products that they are more or less monitoring. So essentially, if they monitor 100 million, they get paid for 100 million liters. That makes no sense whatsoever, because the assumption being, and we'll go into this in perhaps some detail, the assumption being that if the fuel consumption goes up and taxes go up, that must be due to their work. Now, we challenge that, in great detail, and I hope that the chance will come in to explain. So that is how this company came in, and that is why the issue around their involvement became problematic. Because when the Fourth Estate did their investigation, they confirmed that the multiple levels at MPA level, GRE level, and the rest of it, that the existing framework is what was being used to determine taxes in the country and to track and monitor taxes in the country. And that existing framework is already integrated in the ecosystem. So whatever SML was doing was not what was being used. They were not producing the information that was being used to determine taxes in the country. So you have to ask yourself then, on what basis can we attribute anything to them of value, right? Because if you think of it very critically, they've not been able to provide any information about under declaration that have led to any prosecutions that show that some companies in the sector are under declaring or they are hiding. When it comes to revenue losses due to tax issues, some of it is plainly a matter of the companies not being able to pay, even when you know that they've loaded the goods, the fuel, and they sold the fuel. So those losses are not solved by knowing that they have the liability. We already know they have the liability. So what exact contribution have they made to this process of trying to make sure the taxes are paid? For which reason we should pay them 1 billion Ghana cedis over the last 5 years. Think about it, 1 billion Ghana cedis. So that really is where we are in terms of an understanding the sudden involvement of this company in this.
I see. But then again, you see, right, that 1 billion Ghana cedis, they in their response say that the KPMG report did not factor in the taxes they have paid to the GRA plus the investments that they have made. But in the same response of SML, they are rejecting the claims by KPMG as captured in the president's statement that it partially delivered on several requirements regarding the transaction agreement. In fact, they say that they delivered fully on their obligations outlined in the contract. That is captured in the statement that they, SML, issued. And you, based on what you're saying, it does not reflect the reality of the situation?
Well, I'll just explain to you, right, that in the setup that we have for fuel, if you bring the fuel from overseas, it's captured in the current ICOMS arrangement. And that, if GRA is doing its work well, if the ICOMS platform is working, and it cannot be that it's working for everything, but only for fuel, right? So whatever it is that is happening in milk, in sugar, in whatever, is what is happening in fuel. Now, the argument is that if the ICOMS system is working, we know the fuel that arrived. And the system has now been configured such that we track the fuel from the port to the different depots and eventually to the retail outlets. And you cannot load fuel in this country except you register it in the ERDMS. And there are flow meters that have been implemented by Rock Africa and others in the depots. If all of that is not working, was a contract and they delivered according to the contract. It's meaningless if the contract doesn't make sense. This is the piece of abundant addition of SML when we are paying money for a system that's already end-to-end. And if the system is per chance, not end-to-end, then why don't we extend the existing system to be end-to-end because we are already paying for it? Why do we have to bring another vendor to install another set of flow meters all over the place and then claim that they are the ones that are doing the end-to-end verification? Then we should stop everybody else in the system, throw them all out, and leave them alone.
I see.
Or that is not clear to you, Alfred?
Well, yes, it is clear. But then again, SML, and I'm referring to their responses, indicating their productive performance was the basis for subsequent recommendation and awarding of the downstream petroleum audit contract. That's what they're saying, that there's proven record of their performance. But with what you're saying, raising fundamental questions about even the specific impact that they have had, it begs the question as to exactly what is happening, whether if the MPA system is working, as was captured in the documentary, and whether there was a real need for another third-party arrangement when there was a system in place as was outlined by Mustafa Hamid or Dr. Mustafa Hamid in that particular documentary that we played.
No, because we've had increases in the past when we didn't have them. So if you think that you are stopping under declaration, then what we need is a model that gives us some insight into what is the average under declaration in the market. And that will have come when we were doing the transition, when they first came. Because when they first came, they implemented these systems. The question is, how many companies did they catch doing under declaration with their new systems? That will have given us the baseline. That, okay, based on we have a sense of how much under declaration is in the system. So think of it like we all consume 100 liters. But the truth is that we consume 105 liters. But because some people don't disclose the 5 liters, that's how much we are losing. And the tax corresponding to that is 10 cedis. If you come into the system and the increase of fuel consumption goes to 120, we don't say that all that 120 is your work. We say that, okay, it has increased by 20, but if you are not there, 5 liters will not have been accounted for. So your contribution is 5 out of the 20, not the 120. We cannot base our analysis on your work on 120. And we cannot base on 20. Because two things, the consumption may have increased anyway. And then secondly, we don't know for sure that every single liter that increased in the consumption of, that increase in consumption, every liter increase in consumption will have led to evasion of tax. You are getting the logic. So think about it very carefully. There are two things there to bear in mind. Because of increasing in the volume of cars, increasing the number of consumption, other economic factors, some products will see greater demand. When they see greater demand, some people may not pay tax, but the vast majority will pay tax. Well, the majority of Ghanaians didn't pay tax on fuel, etc., etc. The system will have collapsed. We'll have seen that already in the falling taxes from petroleum. So some people will not pay tax, but they are not the majority. So we need to say, okay, and that increase, what percentage of it will have been lost in terms of tax take because people refuse to disclose? It is that segment that we have to isolate and say that your technology is helping us stop that, so you get a percentage of that. That's not what is happening. They're getting a percentage of all fuel consumed in Ghana. Every time you buy fuel in Ghana, a certain check goes to them because they claim if they were not there, the company that you bought the fuel from would not have remitted the tax. I mean, is this a logical argument? When, as I've explained to you, there are already a lot of measures in place to prevent exactly that possibility. And as I will show in a moment, we know for a fact that NPA claims that due to the systems that they put in place, that's not SML systems, they have been catching smuggling, they have been catching tax evasion, etc. So either NPA is lying and their systems they have are useless and we should throw them all out and stop paying for them. Or SML is lying and the system they have are useless and not adding any value.
So
but we cannot have multiple systems claiming to do the same thing and we're paying for all of them at the same time.
Absolutely. If we're talking about multiple systems, if the NPA is saying that their system is supposed to be checking the same things that SML has also been brought in to check, then it raises fundamental questions about the value for money. And that is also one question that KPMG in itself, based on what the president issued, is asking. So that the increase as captured cannot be attributed to the work of SML in any way, right? This increase in the volumes that was captured in the report that was issued by the president on aspects of the KPMG report?
No, because we've had increases in the past when we didn't have them. So if you think that you are stopping under declaration, then what we need is a model that gives us some insight into what is the average under declaration in the market. And that will have come when we were doing the transition, when they first came. Because when they first came, they implemented these systems. The question is, how many companies did they catch doing under declaration with their new systems? That will have given us the baseline. That, okay, based on we have a sense of how much under declaration is in the system. So think of it like we all consume 100 liters. But the truth is that we consume 105 liters. But because some people don't disclose the 5 liters, that's how much we are losing. And the tax corresponding to that is 10 cedis. If you come into the system and the increase of fuel consumption goes to 120. We don't say that all that 120 is your work. We say that, okay, it has increased by 20, but if you are not there, 5 liters will not have been accounted for. So your contribution is 5 out of the 20, not the 120. We cannot base our analysis on your work on 120, and we cannot base on 20, because two things: that consumption may have increased anyway, and then secondly, we don't know for sure that every single liter that increased in the consumption of, that increase in consumption, every liter increase in consumption will have led to evasion of tax. You are getting the logic. So think about it very carefully. There are two things there to bear in mind. Because of increasing it in the volume of cars, increasing the number of consumption, other economic factors, some products will see greater demand. When they see greater demand, some people may not pay tax, but the vast majority will pay tax. Because the majority of Ghanaians didn't pay tax on fuel, etc., the system will have collapsed. We'll have seen that already in the falling taxes from petroleum. So some people will not pay tax, but they are not the majority. So we need to say, okay, and that increase, what percentage of it will have been lost in terms of tax take because people refuse to disclose? It is that segment that we have to isolate and say that your technology is helping us stop that, so you get a percentage of that. That's not what is happening. They're getting a percentage of all fuel consumed in Ghana. Every time you buy fuel in Ghana, a certain check goes to them because they claim if they were not there, the company that you bought the fuel from would not have remitted the tax. I mean, is this a logical argument? When, as I've explained to you, there are already a lot of measures in place to prevent exactly that possibility. And as I will show in a moment, we know for a fact that NPA claims that due to the systems that they put in place, that's not SML systems, they have been catching smuggling, they have been catching tax evasion, etc.
Over the period. But
either NPA is lying and their systems.
But there's a clear, this is what, and it's a very important question that you ask, and that's one that runs through a number of the things that my guests in studio have said. But Bright, quickly and finally, before I let you go, I want you to just show me that graph that you keep making reference to that indicates that there's a consistent rise in the consumption of petroleum products over the period. So this increase that, if you look at page 4 of the president's statement, quotes that there's a clear need for the downstream petroleum audit services provided by SML. And GRA and the state have benefited from these services since SML commenced providing them. And according to the president's statement, there has been an increase in volumes of 1.7 billion liters and an increase in tax revenue to the state of 2.5 billion. So what counter information or facts do you have to disprove what the presidency is captured as making reference to what KPMG said in the reports that we haven't seen? Right.
Of the data from from 1999, and as you can see, we have a certain pattern where generally the fuel consumption in the country increases. You can see it yourself, right? So from 1999, we steadily have increases until we had an economic crisis with the power crisis and things like that in 2014, if you remember. We went to the IMF and all of those in 2015. Until the end of 2016, when Doomsaw ended, the IMF program started working, and the whole thing picked up its growth again. So the first question you have to ask yourself is that, what do you call them? SML arrived in 2019, started working in 2020. You get it? All these increases that we've been seeing in the, all over this period, that increase that you see clearly in the graph, was it due to just monitoring and tracking from SML technology or something else? So since SML came, fuel consumption, gasoline and diesel, rose until 2021, and then in 2022 they started to fall due to the economic crisis in 2022, as you remember. Remember the 2022 economic crisis. Now the question is twofold. One is that what tells us that this increase from 20. Sorry.
I think that we've seen that graph that clearly shows the incremental volumes over the period since 1999, as you have stated. Bright Simmons, Vice President of Imani Africa, thank you. But Bright is still with us. Stay with me. And Nelson Ross and Tedafia would come in. I'm going to go for a quick break, but because I want Sadaf to have his take on this matter after the break. What's your, just a minute.
No.
And I'll come to you. Yes.
I just wanted to make one quick point that, let me make this clear, that I'm not a cynic and I do not suffer from the syndrome of the opposition disease where you must oppose all the time or you must praise all the time. I know when to oppose and when to praise. I have a position on this particular discussion that I've articulated, but I want to restate it again. I visited SML to learn about what they do to be able to get an independent first-hand information about the activities. That's number one. Number two, I have read what the president has said in his response to the KPMG report. Number three, I've also read the SML response to the president's response. And this is my view. First of all, I ask for the president's release of the entire report. I think this one we have all said it. Number two, I insist that given what I've read and what I've seen and all that, SML is doing something good. But there are issues and concerns that we have all raised here. Let the issues and concerns that have been raised be addressed in a manner that deals with any suspicion of corruption and still encourage private local investors to help address our state of joblessness among young people. This is my position. And if this position is misunderstood by anybody, I've stated it clearly. I'm not here to do anybody's bidding. I speak from my conviction. Thank you.
We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Nelson Rox and Echedafia has some more information on this matter. You'd want to stay with us. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Back after this quick break.
Discover the Arabian charm and the Emirates aboard the Celestial Journey cruise ship on an extraordinary voyage to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sebaniyas Island, Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain from the 20th to the 29th of December 2024. This package includes an 8-day cruise with drinks, meals, visas, return flights, onboard internet, hotel accommodation, excursions, transfers, and travel insurance. Call us now on 0308-251-055 to secure your cabin with $1,000 deposit and pay the rest in installments. Life is better at sea. Experience it.
In a world where every moment counts, one team stands ready to deliver the news that shapes our lives. A team driven by truth, integrity, and unwavering dedication. They travel to the front lines in the tireless pursuit of truth to bring you the world stories like never before. Get ready to witness the stories that matter. We have the most trusted voices in journalism who are committed to delivering accurate, balanced, and thought-provoking news. TV3, first in news.
See, I chose B because she did B.
She did B. Wow.
Achime.
Adis.
Oh, George, yeah. No, care by me.
Your favorite color is red. I'm red.
You that thing, you know, we need to do fanboy thing for you. Off the thing. Also, you, I know your woman. Why they do that? Off the thing.
The Bosphorus, the captivity and the negativity are not in the rightful linear equation.
What exactly are you speaking English? Speak English. You don't like headache?
I don't want any headache.
It's evident in your hair.
Date Rush shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it. Date Rush is sponsored by Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil and Napa Foods.
Feel Moisturizer.
Obuasi Bitters.
Close-Up Complete Fresh Protection, Geisha Moringa, and Geisha Black Soap.
Deluxy Acrylic Paint.
Adonko.
Remy Spices.
Stop Cough from Ernest Chemist.
Dano Milk.
Kiss Panache and Kiss Drinks.
This Sunday on Hot Issues.
Do you think that Jane will bring in the numbers you need to win?
There are 16.8 million women in Ghana. We need a seat at the top table now.
Your dream of capturing the Ashanti region has already fallen through.
This time, I believe that their eye is on the ball. This time. And the campaigning has been made much easier. The MPP has proved themselves to be quite helpful.
Hot Issues shows Sundays at 10 p.m. only on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Bienvenue, voila.
Thank you, but I think I have my favorite, please. And you, wherever you may be, you're welcome to a delectable feast of exciting conversations with your favorite personality.
If you're born in this part of the world, your dream, your goals are delayed 10 years.
I'm not going to feed into any of the negative things that I hear. In the end, I'm just going to keep winning awards and killing shows.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why not? And we'll be there. Exciting activities filled with good music, dancing, games, and many more. A delightful course filled with the best TV ingredients. Bon appetit. Grab your plates. We're about to serve you a buffet of your favorites. Okay, so Bella.
Oh, my Bella.
Join us every weekend for a delicious dose of fun, laughter, insights, and more. The Day Show, where every day is a feast for the senses.
The Day Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
This woman locked up in a room to break a king. So where she's in a relationship with me and I can't have a boyfriend. It's more of a strategy of bringing all his girlfriend under one roof. So she comes to my room, touch me, hold my breasts. Almost all the girls in the house posted me.
This is Confessions, the groundbreaking talk show where hearts are laid bare and resolutions sought.
Just tell me, who is he?
I didn't mean to hurt you. I just couldn't resist him.
Him? Who is he?
It's my brother.
Your brother?
As the confession unfolds, we explore the depth of human emotions, address guilt, and work towards healing. I am Miss Nancy, your confidant and your companion on this journey. Here, honesty reigns supreme and judgment finds no foothold, whether your transgressions are whispered secrets or thunderous regrets. This is your sanctuary. Join me and my resource persons. Trust me, they are wise counselors, deep spiritual people, and professionals. Confessions, the safe haven for all your secrets.
Confessions shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
MTN.
Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I would read as many of your messages on this SML matter as I can. I promise you that. But Nelson Boxen Echedafiamepo, who has also been looking into this matter. In fact, even before the demand for this report to the KPMG report to be brought to Parliament, you had already started making that particular demand now.
Yeah.
What are some of the issues that should concern Parliament should this report come to you?
Okay, thank you very much. I've listened to my colleagues here and listened to other comments outside. And you see, before today, and you see, I am saddened for a couple of reasons. Look, I have been Oyome's lawyer for some time. And
Stop some of the money.
oh, you see exactly what he's saying. And what did Oyome do? Oyome has a company that got the opportunity to obtain a subcontract from a company called Waterville for the building of our stadium in 208 towards the 208 African Games, African Cup of Nations, which we hosted. And then he has some benefits under the contract, so he demanded and got some money paid. We demonize him. He was a Ghanaian, he's still a Ghanaian. We demonize him. We did all manner of things to him. We demonized the party that formed the government under which it happened, the NDC. Eventually, the matter went to court, and the Supreme Court said that the contract between Waterville and the government was illegal one. Why? Because certain requirements in law were not met.
Including parliamentary approval.
Yes, and consequentially, any benefits deriving from that contract was null and void. So Oyome became liable for monies that he genuinely got. As we speak, is a man that has fallen into some impecuniousness as a result of this. He had people who were working, he had Ghanaians who were working for his company. Today, I hear that SML is a Ghanaian company. So even if we dictate wrongdoing, we should go slowly. No,
we didn't say that.
Please. I'm not saying it was said here, but elsewhere. I have been saying that SML, ab initio, didn't have either the technical expertise or know-how, nor the financial wherewithal to have undertaken the contract that we gave to them. And let me demonstrate.
Yes, why?
This government first came to power on 7th day, January 2017.
Mm-hmm.
On 8th February 2017, the owners of this company first formed the first company, and they called it Strategic Mobilization Enhancement Limited. Their stated capital was 10,000 Ghana cedis. 10,000 Ghana cedis. A week later, on the 14th of February, they formed this company that is in issue, Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. Why the GRA, if you allow Ghana to be in the name, is something I must look into, because I went to the Registrar General. I went to Registrar General to form a company with Ghana in it. I was refused. Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited was formed on the 14th of February by entirely the same people, essentially. Stated capital, 10,000 Ghana cedis.
So
the point
to buttress the point, I have a copy of
yes,
the
you can float it.
Office of the Registrar of Companies. I think that this application we also sought some details of. We have it. The request for company registration information. Reference is made to your letter. So we'll give it to you. according to the response they gave, per their records, the company's registration number is CSO 513-502-2017.
Yeah.
The original incorporation date of the said company is 14 February 2017, and the commencement date is 14 February 2017, same day. The principal activity as follows: general trading and services, import and export of general goods, audit services activities. The nature of business of the said company: general trading and services, import and export of general goods, audit service activities. The shareholder of the said company, Evans Edusei, and the directors of the company, Evans Edusei and Esther Edusei. I'm sure these are they.
Yes.
Who are they?
Yes, Evans Edusei owns Evans Timber, which used to be a free zones company. So how did he acquire the expertise to do what we are saying? So that is where we are questioning the fact that there must be a conflict of interest situation between himself and the Minister of Finance.
I'm a farmer and a lawyer.
Please,
what is wrong?
Please, I never, a lot of things you said, I wasn't in favor, but I kept quiet. So we are interrogating the issues. How did Mr. Evans suddenly be able to acquire the expertise, set up a company, and within months got such colossal contracts in terms of value from the government? The second issue is about the procurement. How many Ghanaians will go to the Registrar General, set up a company, and weeks after that, you come into huge government business?
No.
That is the point. Now, let me fast forward. People are fighting about the duration of the contract. Are we looking at the contract awarded from 2023 going forward as a 5-year tenure? Or we are looking at the contract they got before 2023? If we put the two together, then the 10-year tenure is correct, because they had already worked for 5 years in some other capacity with the government.
Yes.
So the computation must factor into the fact, it must factor the fact that they had already worked with the government for 5 years, and the existing contract has been put together, what they call a consolidated contract, for another 5 years. So that is the issue about the tenure of the contract. Now, if you read the president's release statement on the report, if you go to paragraph B under recommendation, there's something very, very significant stated there. The president's office is able to glean from the KPMG report and to elucidate the fact that if you look at the investment, the supposed investment put together by SML for its work in the downstream and the upstream and the minerals value chain that they are engaging, it comes to about $177.53 million. That is the supposed investment they've done. How is a company with a stated capital of 10,000 Ghana cedis 5 years ago able to do this? How is that possible? Where is the demonstration of muscle? So for me, this was a company that had nothing and was just gifted a very lucrative, scandalous government contract, out of which they are rather benefiting.
Yes, so that all of them.
Look.
No, what is scandalous about the contract?
It is scandalous because it has no basis in law. So let me demonstrate. When they tried to obtain the contract, they didn't meet the requirements. And PPA said you cannot use sole sourcing to award this contract. What they did was that they then gave them a subcontract. How do you give a company a subcontract when the company hasn't got a substantive contract in place? So you compel the original service provider, which was West Blue, to subcontract SML for purposes of obtaining some tutelage or guidance.
If you say you compel, what evidence do you have?
So West Blue was providing the service.
They were compelled to do so.
So this is the trajectory. West Blue was the company existing and providing this service. Then you decided to use SML.
Who compelled them?
Hold on. So Finance Ministry decided to use SML to be awarded the contract. It failed because the legal requirements were not met. It was rebuffed by PPA. So what did the Minister of Finance through GRA, what did they do? They now gave them a subcontract. The subcontract was awarded by West Blue. You understand? So I'm saying that how do you compare somebody who's already offering the services to you to award a subcontract to this entity who you intended to sole source the services to, but it failed? That is where I see some exertion of executive power came in. Then, as soon as you decided to terminate the contract with West Blue. No, you refused to renew the contract with West Blue when it came to an end. If you recall, you and I were on trade committee. West Blue came. Yes. They came to cry to us. Yes. We couldn't do anything.
No. I supported West Blue.
Yeah, but we couldn't do anything. The point I'm making is that when they came crying that the contract has come to an end, but there's a clause for renewal.
Yes.
They were pleading with government to renew because they had offered excellent service. They brought data. I said, no way. By then, this company had done some subcontracting. So they now kicked out West Blue by refusing to renew and awarded the contract to SML, which has been determined to be unlawful. Now, the SML now says...
Who determined that to be unlawful?
Why? The report. The audit. I haven't read the audit.
I haven't seen it.
But,
okay.
Well,
okay.
You are making reference to the president's statement.
Well,
we don't have details.
It's alleged to be unlawful. Now, SML says that they have done this level of investment, but KPMG says they brought no document to make that allegation or to support that allegation. It has to be preposterous for anybody to suggest that my investment in the businesses that I offer is in excess of, it's nearly $180 million. And yet when an audit firm says, bring proof of such an investment, you are unable to provide a scintilla of evidence.
Ask for the proof.
Have you read the KPMG report?
They did not bring anything.
But what does an audit do? What does an audit do?
No, but I think it's
and
the
that's
fundamental.
why
that is why they said the contract ought to be audited.
And that's why we asked for more time for them to finish.
And they did.
The period was extended.
If I were SML, I would have been flying any documentary evidence I have in terms of my investment.
Unfortunately, you are not.
Yes. So that is why I'm saying that you slept on your right, or in effect they had. In fact,
if it was not deemed
it was a mere claim.
It was necessary for them to prove their
Okay.
You understand? It was a mere claim. They did no such investment.
What is the focus?
If
hold on.
Now, relax. Now let me move to the next point.
This is the specific provision in the statement the president issued. It says,
go to paragraph B.
In the event of termination without cause, the government becomes liable to pay SML and return on investment equivalent to the fair value of SML's investment in the respective contract. The total investment value in the contract for the transaction audit and external price verification service and downstream petroleum audit service amount to $44,180. The total investment value in the contract for the upstream audit and minerals audit services amounts to over $133.4 million. The total investment value for all the services provided by SML to GRA amounts to over $177.5 million. KPMG noted that SML did not provide supporting documents or relevant information to verify the investment it has made. GRA must verify the investment, if any, of the services provided under the... So if you make a claim, I think the burden is on you to prove that indeed you made such investment. I don't think it's a wrong question to ask.
May I have my time back?
Yes.
So clearly the auditor stated that they did not support that allegation. Now let me move further. When this matter erupted, GRA came out with a statement, and they said, amongst other things, that before they contracted SML, they were using manual systems. They were using dipsticks brought to engaging SML. That cannot be true. That could not be true. Because you see, entities like West Blue were already providing similar services. And they were not relying on manual, or they were using technology. Okay. Is GRA not capable of enhancing its technology or existing technology for paid staff to do what SML is supposedly doing? Like you listen to Bryce Simmons, we have 3 regulators. Isn't the NPA capable of offering similar ancillary services to dealing with this matter? So we are willing to pay so much money for an entity that is supposedly offering a service that is already in the domain of GRA, NPA, and the others to offer. So this contract, this agreement for me is a conduit to siphon money. And I'm happy that this audit has happened. And I'm happy that my ranking on finance, the Honorable Ezekiel Adongo, is asking that the KPMG report, as well as the existing contracts, be brought to Parliament for our consideration. And we'll wait patiently for this to be done. Mm-hmm. And let the record reflect that this contract will be looked into in the future.
Amen.
It will be investigated thoroughly.
Amen.
And all culprits found will be dealt with in accordance with the law. If a contract yesterday, if an illegal contract yesterday nobody could derive benefit from an illegal contract yesterday.
Already, my friend, nobody. Attorney General's office.
Oh no, nobody. Nobody should be made to benefit from a contract that is not lawful today. And let me.
Are you going to be attorney general?
No. Nobody has promised me to be an attorney, but I'm telling you. But I'm telling you, for 53 or 51 million Ghana cedis in this country, the things you did to owe me. Look at it. If you do the equivalent, it's about 2.5 billion Ghana cedis.
You see, it really not good.
You understand? So let's be very careful how we make the analysis today on matters such as this. Conflict of interest is smelling over all over this contract, and it shall be all these matters will be looked into tomorrow.
Well,
tomorrow is indeed pregnant, my brother Ocansey. These are the preliminary comments I have.
So this matter now, as you are,
so I want to
in a minute. I need you to do this in a minute.
So let's start.
Parliament is making a demand.
Yes,
Council.
Please, this issue of criminology and this, I think we should lay that to rest. Crime is crime. I don't know any of the developed countries where they just allow corporations to involve themselves in crime, fleece us, cause financial loss, and say because they want to encourage their own, no accountability. That's not it. Look, you read this book.
Nobody has said
Waging War on corruption.
Nobody has said that.
Nobody has said that.
Okay. So I said nobody has said that. So don't set your own question and then begin to answer.
You said crabology. We are not.
No, but then you move on. You move on. I mean, if that is the case, so let it be.
Look at it here. So can you imagine the 70s crowd? Look at it here. You see. So talking about fighting corruption in America, Senator Church opened the hearing by declaring a cancer is eating away at the vitals of Western society, and that cancer is corruption. And you know what? That was his opening to the day they humiliated Exxon. Now today, Exxon Mobil. See how they are still thriving. Exxon had paid money, plenty, to various countries, all right? So listen, he said the company had made more than $800,000 of secret payments through offshore subsidiaries to top politicians in Gabon, Nigeria, Libya, and the Dominican Republic. You go on and on. So many companies. And then also, listen, leaking like, I remember the last time I brought a book by Condoleezza Rice, former U.S. Secretary state, right? And also national security advisor. Here today, are talking about leaking. He says that Senator Casey's staff would be helpful in leaking documents. Okay? Now, what they are talking about is Clifford Case. He was a senator, right? Republican senator. And what they would do is that they were leaking the bribes that were paid by big companies. Already I mentioned Exxon, Mobil, Gulf Oil, Ashland Oil, and numerous others. And you see, you go on and on. When you read the fight about corruption in those societies, they are always holding people accountable. So nobody should be here to say that if you are holding a Ghanaian company accountable, then that's crabology. No, okay. please.
But
well, not with this.
Thank you.
With this.
I think that
I mean, what you
I think I also deserve.
Listen, you are not being fair. I mean, if you are not.
You said it's crabology.
But if there's crabology,
but you don't see causes for now. You don't see thievery.
Okay, gentlemen.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that
also
there may be good things with this deal. If there are
nothing good about this deal.
If there are challenges, let us
expose nothing good. This was a scam.
In a manner that does not
this is a scam.
In a manner that
this
does not.
Thank you.
There's nothing good about this deal.
Thank you. Well, you're so live on key points.
I also deserve.
One year in a minute.
Well, for me, I just want to make some corrections here. For me, the person that is in this contract is not a timber merchant. It's a company.
No.
And we all know as lawyers that the company is different from its promoters. And let's get it straight. A stated capital
Nobody
of
said the person was a timber merchant. We said the owner.
If the owner was a timber merchant, so what?
Said the owner was a timber merchant.
If the owner was a timber merchant. So I am a lawyer, but I am a farmer. If I create a farming company,
right?
What takes away my right to do so? A subcontract, a capacity in a subcontract is different from a capacity in a subsequent contract. Yes. Because in a subcontract, you are contracting with the principal contract holder. In the consolidated contract, the company itself is contracting with the beneficiary, the receiver.
So what's your point? The point exactly.
The consolidated. No. The consolidated contract is totally different from the first subcontract.
It's different from the.
Listen.
That was what the consolidated.
The consolidated contract, the parties are. Is it SML versus GRA? In the subcontract, the parties are West Blue versus SML. Very different contracts.
All right.
Let's get that one too. And
was not different. Was the provision of the same services.
Well, but different contracts.
What are you saying?
Challenge me if you can. Different contracts.
Challenge you. I said for the provision of the same services.
So means the same contract.
So what's the point?
Number 4 is that the company that has 10,000 Ghana cedis stated capital cannot contract in 5 years the magnitude of this contract. Companies grow. And therefore, the expectation is that you don't start as
Wait.
And again, when company is growing, maybe it grows by attracting other investments also into. So you cannot limit the company.
This justification offends me. You set up a company in February and by April, May, you are dealing with government business.
No. Dealing with government business as a subcontractor is different.
I see. I'm happy that you can work to Registrar General. All the new people who are setting up companies.
5 years down the line,
they'll get youth government contracts. They'll get youth government contracts. Don't defend things like that.
I don't see any criminology in that.
I see a lot of conflict of interest.
Guess what?
You're only just guessing.
I'm not guessing. I'm giving you
you.
a direct linkage that we don't set up a company freshly and get these huge types of
if I set up a company today and I get you as a partner in 10 days, my stated capital can grow.
For a review
then it's been choreographed. Then go and set up the company and come and get a job.
Declaration of assets by officers of the state. Now, the Honorable Adiapakubi, take this document. Pass it on to him.
All that is said didn't matter.
What?
Let's hear from.
He muted you.
Yes.
Yes. He muted all of us.
Yes.
He muted me.
Let's hear from the senior advisor to the president.
Are we done on
SML? Yes, we have.
Yes,
gentlemen. Yaosafo Mafo is singing a chorus that a number of people, including a number of you here, have been talking about. So I wanted to take a listen to him and whether he can do something beyond just saying what all of us have been saying in his capacity as the senior advisor to the president. Take a look.
First thing you do is to declare your assets and file same with the auditor general. What I personally don't like about this law is that after you declare the assets, everything is kept confidential between the Auditor General and yourself. And therefore, it becomes very difficult for anybody to challenge the authenticity of your declaration. I think that, yes, let's declare the assets, but there should be a certain level of transparency in the declaration of the assets so that people can assess what you declared, also by certain procedures. I happens to be in the Consultative Assembly when we were drawing up the Constitution of the Republic, when we put in this phrase. And I was championing the publication of the assets. And of course, the chiefs were there in their right numbers. The chiefs were so furious with me because they said, look, do you want people to kill us when they know what we have? So people, because of our traditional system of inheritance, where in the Akan world it's maternal inheritance, so that when I am dead, it's my sisters, it's my brother first, after my brother, my sister's children. It's matrilineal. So if people know that you have a lot of things, they may kill you in advance. So people are scared to openly let people know what they have publicly.
Well, that's the senior advisor to the president, Yaosafo Mafo, there. And number of your messages. This one here, Musa Abatwa in Aswase in the Ashanti region. Alfred, the fact has been provided by CSOs regarding the SML contract. It has also been stated by Bright Simmons of Emmanuel Fkau in your show this morning that they have the first glimpse of evidence that what the president said, KPMG said about SML's work is not fully accurate. Hence, the president should make the findings of the KPMG report public if they are not hiding the truth. And it says, this one here says, I commend, yes, it says Professor Jampo and the demand for the publication of this report. I think that we should all jump on that chorus and make that demand. We all deserve to see what is in there. I agree with you. Charles Atokwamena Bedu, thank you very much for your message. This one here says, my lights have been off since 6 a.m. Should be back by 6 p.m. today. It says, please send us the link of Key Point. I think it's on Facebook. Gideon Tay Agbashi from Big Ada. Sorry about that. We talked about Dumso a bit this morning. And lawyer Richmond Roxon says, good morning. Wyoming Waterville, Isofoton had their contracts declared illegal because the Supreme Court held that there were no parliamentary approvals. Parties suffered as a result of the failure of executive to seek parliamentary approval. Today, we are being told that if there are procurement breaches, SML should not suffer for it and that we should blame the state. Was that their position when Wyoming and Co. suffered same? Good morning. Thank you.
They were very different.
Richmond Roxon, private legal practitioner. Stephen Peng from WA says, good morning, Mr. Ocansey. It is also confirmed on the Manasseh video that the data generated by SML are not relevant and not used by NPA and GRA in revenue collection mechanism because the data from the NPA are still being, you say, better used by GRA. Stephen from WA, thank you very much. This one here says that if the ordinary Ghanaian does not take care of his wife, etc., why should that be about the president's spouses? You say, aren't they paid more than enough considering all the attachment? I think that Professor Jampo made that point. Good morning. Thank you very much for your message. This one also here says, Alfred, good morning. On the spousal salaries, I think that the state has a moral duty to protect spouses of our presidents and vice presidents from harm, just as there is the moral duty to protect all citizens. In the case of spouses of our president and vice president, this duty goes a notch higher because the spouses are so highly exposed and any harm to them can affect the outputs of their husbands. However, the question of salaries, like the Supreme Court has ruled, is out of the question, you say. John Kofi. Thank you from Navrongo. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much for appreciate the about 600 messages we have. Thank you so much for keep them coming. I'll just go to the next batch of the messages before we end. But Lawyer Martin Pebo, the inefficiencies or the impotence of our public asset declaration regime is not new. We've said it here.
Yeah.
But this time around, this is coming from the senior advisor to the president. There is a cure to this inefficiency in the asset declaration regime. And you see that in the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which is before cabinet now. What would you expect from your Safomafo beyond this public declaration that, you know what, I agree with you, Martin Pebo, that the asset declaration law doesn't bite. It will not make any impact in the fight against corruption in this country. So something must be done. Because even the chiefs were against the public declaration of assets when the constitution was being formed. That's what he said. He was a member of the Consultative Assembly.
Yes.
Yourself, he stated that the chiefs were against the public declaration of assets because they were afraid of armed robbers attacking them. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, so quickly on the chiefs and then Osafo Mafu. So the summary is that we expect Mr. Osafo Mafu to send a memo or a letter to the president stating his position, at least to reiterate, just in case people would say that President Kufuor didn't hear him speak. He should do a formal letter. Maybe he can make it an open letter because Osafo Mafu is well above 70, right? Yeah, he's an elder statesman, so he should take that position that, listen, look, he was in it. Now, with hindsight, he's saying that this thing, we have to take it head on. We have to hold the bull by the horns. So he should do an open letter and also perhaps seek audience with the president and announce him to us so that we can give more support. That is it on it. You see, when he says the chiefs were not in favor, etc., I think one of the main things we suffer in Ghana is that we often don't read our history. That's a problem. So you would find people make arguments, things that we had sorted out long ago. How many times have we said it here that when Kwame Nkrumah was kicked out, the Jagi Commission paraded all of his appointees. Yes. They declared all their assets. I have the Jagi Commission report. I think we've brought them here. Yes. Who?
And the only one.
Thank you. Then we'll come to Apalu, etc. We don't have any single recorded case that armed robbers went on any member of the Jagge Commission, the people, the ambassadors, the ministers, etc., or the people who appeared before.
Exposing their property.
Exactly. Then, as Honorable Dafemeko mentioned, there's also the Olenu Commission report. Then there's the Apalu Commission report on Kwame Nkrumah's assets, right? And then also in 1978 and 79, we had SMCD 216, etc. You see, and we've dealt before the Taylor Assets Committee report. There are so many of them. People, yes, in 1978, we made a law that to go to Parliament, come before the committee, because what they did was that they had disqualified J.H. Mensah and co. Because J.H. Mensah, when he took office previously, the assets he acquired, he couldn't account for, right? So he was disqualified. This man, Imoro Igala. Igala was disqualified. That's how come Liman got the chance. So when you hear some grown-ups, they've forgotten history, then they are arguing. Yeah, he's not supported. Liman became president because Igala was also disqualified. Igala...
Council.
What?
Council.
No, what have we said? We said people have forgotten history. Yeah, Igala went to court and lost. Yeah, people have forgotten history. J.H. Mensah also went to court and lost. So that's how come they were disqualified. For 1979, they were disqualified. There were so many other... There were more than 100. They couldn't contest. So that is our rich history on asset declaration. And that's what we still have in the Constitution. If you cannot justify your assets, as stated in Article 286 Clause 4, those assets are confiscated to the state, right? So the bill, Mr. Ocansey, now the president still has it from September 30th last year. The president has been talking about a world-class asset declaration law. And yet till date, he can't adore it. More than 6 months. He made this promise at the National Bar Conference in Cape Coast. Yeah, I have the video here. You find the president saying that he's going to give us a world-class asset declaration law.
Okay.
And prominent, one of the key provisions we are not negotiating about is that there will be a publication of all the assets declared. And we are saying that, listen, we know if you want to do publication in the dailies, etc., it may be expensive. Put it on the website. Put it on the website. So you create a website, then everything is in there. So that somebody in Boko, somebody in Paga, somebody in Breniase, every part of Ghana, they just take their smartphone, click, and then they can check on the assets of their minister, their MP, etc. So that if they find that the assets that the minister or MP has declared are way short of what they see in the community, then they can go and report. But the question is that since September 30th, 2023, when President Akufo-Addo promised, and then in the budget review, paragraph 148, Ofori-Atta mentioned, but Ofori-Atta mentioned verification.
Specifically?
The 2023-2024 budget,
okay.
Right? Ofori-Atta in paragraph 148 said, yes, the new asset declaration law will make provision for verification. My worry is I didn't mention publication of the assets. So please, I hope they are not doing a U-turn. As for publication, it's not negotiable. Because you see, earlier on, I mentioned this book, Waging Corruption, the War on Corruption. They mentioned all this from the 90s. The World Bank, etc. They've been on our necks that we should do this open and transparent system, right? Yes, because that is the way to go.
Right.
So that after asset declaration, then we'll come to political party financing. That is another huge area of corruption. If you don't tackle these two areas properly, forget it. The war on corruption, it will never be won. Because if you don't make sure that people will publish their assets, and if you don't make sure that we stop these companies that pay money so that they will come and take big contracts, 1,000-fold what they give, the pittance they give to the political parties, then forget the war on corruption. Okay. So President Akufo-Addo, more than 6 months. Honorable, if you look, you guys are on break. At this rate, it doesn't appear the bill will go to Parliament and be passed before Akufo-Addo leaves office. It doesn't appear so. Meanwhile, it is an IMF conditionality. Code of conduct. Code of conduct for public officers.
Well,
very short. I support the call for
the publication.
Indeed, it is good for us to publish the assets when you assume office. It's good for us.
Members of Parliament.
Members of Parliament. And everybody.
President,
I think it's good for you to publish so that you will not be accused wrongly. Indeed, I always do publish my assets because I don't have any additions.
Fortunately, I can't even verify whether what you are saying is true or not. But because even the Auditor General can't open the envelope.
I publish
the auditor
because
the Auditor General can't even open your envelope.
I say I declare my assets all the time because they probably
true
all
state
the
of
same.
your assets. The
Yes,
true state
the true state of my assets. Maybe the farm that I'm consulting this year will come in later. But as for landed property, it has remained the same. So it's a repetition of what I did in 2017. And trust me, what I started in 2007, it is still uncompleted. So every year it will come. But it is still, as we speak, uncompleted. So that will even take the responsibility off our heads to prove any addition, because there's no addition. And indeed, the publication alone will not solve the problem. We must continue to verify, even post-office. People will put their money somewhere, and when they are out of office, that's where they apply. So there should be a time beyond your office where you will be investigated the next 5 years to see what you have added. So you must declare your assets beyond your retirement from office. And we must also be careful that it's not only just...
Declare it how? Declare
and publish.
When you know that it will not be made public.
No.
Makes sense.
As for the publication, it must be part of the law.
Well, so if you're
so
saying
you declare and publish. I'm saying that let it also happen even beyond office.
Yes.
Into say 5-10 years.
Yes.
That and again, I challenge the office of the Auditor General to go and verify. The declaration alone is not enough.
But that will not be. It means you should amend the law.
Yes.
Yes.
So Ofori-Atta mentioned that in the
that's
budget.
what I'm suggesting, that when you declare, there must be a verification to confirm whether what you are saying is true. And trust me, there are people who also over-declare in the hope that they will fill the gap.
Yes, indeed.
You understand? So we need to investigate that one also, so that I don't tell you in the declaration that I have a mansion of 10 living rooms
and work
towards it whilst I'm in office. Thank you very much this morning.
Thank you. Let me bring you Professor.
Unfortunately, I have to
Professor Jampo.
You see, the challenges, you see, the weaknesses of our asset declaration regime have been known and have only been spoken about. So we are a nation of talkers. See, NATO people, no action, talk only. Okay. From 1992, we've known the weaknesses in our assets. Yes, NATO, yes, no action, talk only. From 1992, we've all known the weaknesses of our asset declaration regime. And all eminent states, men and women, politicians in power, politicians out of power, have spoken against the current, regime that we have, because it does not help in the fight against corruption. And I do not think that we will strengthen it, because in strengthening it, it would help fight against corruption. But politicians do not want any fight against their corrupt practices. Look, as a nation, we have the penchant for borrowing or copying things from history and from developed countries and introducing it among our fold just to defeather or make or render it toothless. That's who we are. We would easily go and copy something, and then when it comes to implementing it, we would defeather or render it toothless. See, the whole idea of having a traditional council of elders to check the powers and functions of the chiefs, okay, kicked or brought into or birthed the idea of the Council of State. In traditional times, the chief had no hand in selecting members of his Council of Elders. And the failure of a chief to go by the advice of the Council of Elders led to his removal or destillment. We borrowed the idea of Council of Elders and then changed it into Council of States. The president is appointing directly or indirectly members of his Council of State, and then also the advice of the Council of State. It's not binding on the president. So you see, we've borrowed it from there and then just defeated it. If you look at this asset declaration regime that we are talking about, something that we borrowed it from history, and then we've copied it as best practices from elsewhere. But we have had our own disingenuous way of defeathering it such that you can declare, and as Apia Kubi said, you can over-declare and work towards it, or under-declare, because you know that it will never be. It is possible that people will simply just seal an empty envelope and then go and put it down, knowing very well that nobody would go and look at that envelope.
Daniel Demolovo said he suspects some of them just put newspaper cuttings.
And so now they've been opening it to at least check that there's something written. And the current one also does. And
so, Mr. Honorable Yaosafo Mafo, I mean, what he said is nothing new. The President Akufo-Addo himself, he knows it. Everybody knows that we have weaknesses in our asset declaration regime. But if you want to develop, if you are serious in the fight against corruption, it's not about talking and touting or letting people know that you know about the weakness. It's about action. This problem has been there from 1992 up to now. Why is he,
even in the 60s?
Yes, why is he now talking about it as if it's a new discovery? It's been there. If you are serious, let's amend the necessary legislations and ensure that if people declare, they declare what they are supposed to be declaring, so that we can monitor, we can measure what they get, what they acquire out of office, okay, with what they had when they were not in office. I mean, this will be an important step, or we'll be making giant strides in the fight against corruption if we are able to rethink our asset declaration regime in a manner that make it potent in the fight against corruption.
Now, the Honorable said the public declaration, I think that's the differentiating factor here. that even if we have the Conduct of Public Officers Bill and the public declaration is not in there, we will just be massaging the problem that we're faced with if this is meant to fight public sector corruption. Honorable.
Look, let me say this, and I hope that Martin will find favor with that.
What?
As professionals, we do what we call publication of names of members in good standing. You know, every year. Yeah. When the general public are called upon to have serious regard to you, your association will determine whether you are in good standing or not. I think as a people and as part of the legal regime, we should be able to do that. Public officers who are mandated under law to publish, to declare their assets, our names should be published as people who are in good standing in terms of the law, whilst we seek review and enhancement.
Okay. By yourselves? Just
no,
like the president of Senegal did. You mean by yourself?
The states. Okay. You see, the information is given to the states.
Okay.
There's no law banning the state from stating that these are members holding public offices who are mandated under law to declare their assets, and they have done so.
But we are not seeing what is inside.
No, you see, that publication alone, it's a good step. Then we can make demands in terms of review and say that, okay, now we want to be able to see the nature of the assets, and we should also have the opportunity to have them verified. These are enhancements that we see in the legal regime. Then two, you see, the amendments that we seek and the fact that we are stampeding the president to doing that won't favor his regime. So he's adamant. That is why you have somebody who served as a senior minister and now senior policy advisor is actually now the one calling and making the demand that it must be done. As a member of parliament, I'm making my own initiative to introduce a private members bill.
I see.
But I'm looking at a calendar.
The president sign it because.
Well, the president, if he wants, you see, this problem of the president not signing private members bills passed into law. It's another matter we must look at. And I'm looking at going back to court.
You are going back to the Supreme Court.
I think you should.
Look, as we speak, we have 3 bills that have been passed into law.
The power of lawmaking
and the president hasn't assented to them.
Democracy.
You understand? And within the law, within 106, there are time frames. It's not for nothing that, for instance, the rules of court says that when you are sued and you are served with the writ, you have a certain time limit within which to enter appearance, a certain time limit within which to file your defense, and know that the timelines are given for purposes of expeditious hearing and determination. The Constitution employs the same. In fact, let me say that the Rules of Court Committee borrow the wisdom from the Constitution. When a bill is passed by Parliament, is presented to you as the president, if you no assent to it, there are timelines within which you must take certain actions. The president cannot receive the bills on 2nd August 2013. Excuse me.
2023.
2023, 2nd August. That's the date the bills were remitted to his office by the clerk to Parliament. And it was acknowledged. In fact, he mistakenly assented to one, but he's recanting that one.
Oh, but we are using it.
Yes, and wait till 15th December before he writes a love memo to Speaker of Parliament, giving some reasons, including the fact that he is now minded to introduce his own bills in respect of these matters. When you have gone before international committees, in the diplomatic community, and actually doubted the fact that as a nation who is in tandem with global movement, you have now withdrawn the death penalty on your books. He actually said that and got applause. Even though it came through a private members bill, you went before the diplomatic committee to tout it as part of your human rights records. So how do you want to benefit from such international movements who are agitating that death penalty be lifted off our statute books, and yet you no assent to it for it to become law because you didn't sponsor it as a government? It's neither here nor there. So there must be look. We must have the opportunity to compel public officers, however high they are, to be able to do their duty under law and the Constitution. And the president refusing to assent to the bill, whatever the circumstances, is one such flagrant abuse of the Constitution.
Okay. Nelson Rossington, thank you very much for this. And I have quite a number of messages on this matter. As a declaration in their publication is necessary. Stephen went from WA. This one here also says, good morning. I want to understand, does it mean that a public officer or a politician cannot build a house or invest while in active service using resources like their salary and allowances that he or she earns? Mohammed Salaga, it is, but that is not the issue that is at play here. Thank you very much. This one here from Professor Kweku Asare. Thank you so much for Professor Kweku Asare for the messages. In fact, it's the fellow CDD Democracy and Development. Yes, Professor Kweku Asare. Yes, thank you. Yes, he's watching you.
You should say thanks to Professor Abuaji, University of Ghana.
Yes.
Yeah, AQQ. He says he watches us.
Okay, Professor Abuaji.
Professor Abuaji, University of Ghana.
Thank you very much. This is Professor Kweku Asare. It says, good morning, Alfred. I would want to first of all state that you are doing your duty as journalists in asking the questions that are of public interest, so that we all get to know exactly what is at hand. I don't think I do agree with Professor Jampo's attack on, well, I wouldn't call it attack. He's just raising questions. It's all right.
You are my friend.
It says we have an audit report. It says we have an audit. Well, I mean, look, we have an audit report which must be released.
Yeah.
We have a white paper that tells us there are multiple violations of the Procurement Act, GRA Act, and other laws. Board approvals were not obtained on some key contracts, and there is no value for money on several contracts. Further, there is evidence of absence of parliamentary involvement in multi-year contracts with billions of dollars at stake. The next step should not be more talking, but action. It's time to form a 3-person post-audit implementation team to study the report and suggest a way forward, including clear directions on disagreement of illegal profits, civil penalties, and criminal prosecutions.
Thank you.
Companies, no matter how valuable, shouldn't profit from illegalities and misconduct. This is neither witch hunting nor anti-entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
This is about transparency, accountability, rules of law, and protection of the ever-shrinking public purse. Keep doing your work the best way possible. Kudos to you. And I think this to the team as well. And I don't do this alone. So, yeah, Professor Kweku Asare, thank you very much for this.
And that's Kweku Asare's message?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let's go to this next issue quickly. And I reserve a lot for you, Professor Jampo, on the next matter. The official presentation, we're going to call it outdooring of Nana Jeno, Professor Nana Jeno Opoku-Agyeman, as the running mate to John Dramani Mahama ahead of election 2024. While we still wait for the outdooring of the running mate for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, but this is what she had to say. In fact, a number of things. They said this is the new Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman because her job seems to have then ushered her into the politics of Ghana. Take a look.
I will repay your abiding confidence with loyalty, with understanding, and a devotion to duty. My output going forward by the grace of God will continue to demonstrate what the world knows already, that women are also capable of high achievements, that we do so with that reservoir of strength, determination, and mental acuity that only those who are noble and far-sighted like you can comprehend and contend with. I will share in our collective successes and share responsibility for our setbacks, if any. And at the time of reckoning, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I will not, in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate.
Well, she has, she has a lot that going for her in favor right now, being the first female vice chancellor of a state university or public university. She is the first running mate to be retained by the NDC while in opposition. So while in opposition, they've always changed running mates. But she's the first to be retained while in opposition. And if the NDC wins 2024, she'll be the first female vice president. We'll see how that plays out. But for example, is this new Professor Nana Jane going to help the NDCs to get in any way?
Well, I think so. I watched, listened to her. She clearly has matured politically. She said all the great things that had to be said. And even though there were some unprofessorial but partisan jabs that also livened her presentation, I think generally she said all that would have to be said. And I would admit that listening to her posturing, how she articulated the issues, it gave a certain hope. Yes. It gave a certain hope. The point has always been that the President Akufo-Addo gave us a lot of hope in the lead up to the 2016 elections. And I think we all know how we feel about him now. So I would plead with Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman. He is not a typical politician. And I'll plead that the kinds of things that she said, she would ensure that if even the typically partisan president is veering off the rail, you would bring him on track so that there will be hope, okay, that when good and decent people get into politics, their DNA is not altered by negative, excessive partisanship. One thing that I was excited again about was the fact that, see, as a people, I think we have done well in our quest to empower women. We have done well as a people to appoint women as vice chancellors, women as ministers, women as chief justices, women as electoral commissioners, women as members of parliament. And now we are seeking to get a woman to the level of the presidency. Let women support their own. Let women support their own. You see, the battle against the marginalization of women will be fought and lost if women do not support themselves. Number two, let the woman who ascend to that high office, if she gets the nod to ascend to that high office of the vice presidency, let her use her position to also empower other women in a manner reflective of the resemblance model of representation that states that a person who typifies the features of the larger group of people to which he belongs is able to better represent, that group. So if she's able to do this, okay, listening to her, it reminded me so much of Professor Mills, very fine, decent politician and all that. So it is not so much about wooing us and making us, let me say this, the 2024 elections is not even going to be fought by the caliber of running mates that one selects. It is going to be purely the examine your life, the Shewa sitting natuaba. It's going to be the economy. That is going to be the number one deciding factor. And so for me, I see her as an icing on the cake. Let her be on track. Let her move beyond giving us hope to actually, if she gets the nod, assisting the president to do things that would also restore the despondency and the sense of hopelessness that Ghanaians are now beginning to have in the political elite. It's not good for us.
In a minute, 1 minute on this, please.
Yeah, the speech, as Prof said, when I heard it, look, I had goose pimples. Yeah, I had goose pimples. I was like, hey, oh yes, we see. Goose pimples. I was like, oh. And you know, she appeared to be talking from her heart. Yeah. The only problem now, I want to be cautious. Having supported the Kufuor and had my fingers bent, I want to be very careful.
You never disappoint.
No. Kufuor, junior Jesus.
So you want to be cautious this
I want
time
to be cautious because of what Kufuor is done to us. Otherwise, Prof spoke from her heart. You know, it was full of hope. It lifted me. I got goose pimples. Yeah. Because I said, that is a speech. Yes, of what? From an English professor. So we will hold her feet to the fire. This speech we will not forget, because the main part, one very important part of it I'm interested in is that she said they will hold people accountable, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, they are going to ensure people will be prosecuted. Remember last week I said we'll have to prosecute Baumia for his role in the PDS scandal, changing the clause from a bank guarantee to insurance guarantee, prosecute Kufuor for the fumigation that cost us over 500 million, which is needless. The 800 million he intended to take in the Ameri deal, the way he overinflated.
You said you are going to bring
so I'm expecting that when I lodge my complaint with the CID, I will send her copies when she's vice president. I will send her copies that she would support. Oh, and of course, we'll not forget, if CID doesn't prosecute Chairman Wuntumi for the Galamsey, yeah, you know,
has the CID given you any responses or updates as yet?
No, we've sent a letter to Madam Fosina Andokofi over a month ago. She's not even said a word to us. So if they don't, and Professor Nana Jemesa becomes, Nana Upukwajima becomes vice president, when I report to the CID, I will send her copies so that she would lead the charges for the prosecution, because we can't continue to allow politicians to run as
assuming she doesn't, you still have I'll hold you to your word of taking up these matters for investigation.
Yes, Mr. Ocansey, let me mention in passing. Let's thank OSP. Hey, yesterday we won the round one, the corruption case in Tamale, the case against NDA. The establishment of no case was thrown out. So the accused persons have been asked to open their defense. Yeah.
Thank you. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. Thank you very much. Nelson Roxon, thank you very much.
Yes, let me have a word.
They have said what you have to say.
The lawyer and the professor.
But
what do you want to say?
What do you want to say?
1 minute.
30 seconds.
1 minute.
30 seconds.
They have thrown the ball to you. Prof, just said you have to do.
Prof lectured me in communicative skills in 97, 98.
Okay.
University of Cape Coast.
Right.
2 months ago, I was advocating for her renomination. And somebody asked, what did she bring to the table? This was a woman who led policy-changing directives and programs at the Ministry of Education, led the University of Cape Coast to expand to become a modern university. Today, they've been ranked as the best in Africa. This woman.
You said which what?
UCC. We've been ranked as the best.
Oh, please.
Let's
not go there. Let's not go there.
That's a couple of years ago.
The program is
yes. But let me say this. I'm a product of Lagos. I'm a product of UCC. But let me say, UCC ranked the best.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
But finally.
I have to.
Finally.
Why should you say this? They say talk about Nana.
Professor Nana Jeno has made a point. We are waiting the Monsignor Thomas Baumia to bring his running mate.
But why don't we call him Monsignor? Why do you call him Monsignor?
Okay, Alaji Baumia. Alaji Dr. Baumia. Alaji Dr. Baumia.
Nelson Russell,
The man is in Rome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Also to you, Lawyer Martin Bebo, thank you very much. Also, no, thank you. Also, Professor Ransford Jampo, thank you very much. A number of you also asking about what well, now this one says, I want to get your top for my husband. Well, guess what? You can, I am clothed this morning by Willis Clothing. You can find Willis Clothing on Facebook and then also on Instagram, Willis, Willie. That's Willis Clothing on Facebook and Instagram, Willis Clothing Empire. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on